the meeting of the Water Wastewater Board to order at 9 o'clock on Tuesday, April 15th, 2025 at Chatham Road in Harwich. We have a full board, so we have a quorum. We also have our Superintendent, Jason Trapania, and Tracy Alves, our board secretary, and some other presenters who I'll announce as we get to them. With that said, do we have anybody for public comment? No? And in addition to that, I'll say that as required by open meeting law, you're hereby informed that the town will be video and audio taping this public meeting. Anybody in the audience who plans to video or audio tape this meeting must notify the chair now. Okay. So, no public comment, so we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Madam Chairman, I move we adopt the minutes for February 28, 2025, March 3rd, March 6th, 2025.
And I believe Bob had one comment.
Yeah, I'd rather be referred to as commissioner instead of clerk.
Oh, okay. I can edit that.
Do you want that changed for this one?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can, I don't know, maybe we'll have it later, or if not, we'll sign it next time.
Okay.
But with that edit, we have a motion to approve with that edit. Correct, Alan? From Alan. And a second from Judith. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. 5-0. Next item is an abatement for 3 Silver Street. I wonder if we need to ask Wellesley to step into the room? It seems pretty straightforward. Looks to be a late fee. My only issue is that it looks as though this account has had quite a few late fees.
Yes, so this gentleman is asking for an additional abatement for the late fee that was assessed on his January water bill. And he has had late fees assessed for multiple cycles. We have mentioned the option of automatic payments so that if he's, out of country or busy or, doesn't really stay on top of bills, it would do work for him. In this case, I don't believe he's really receptive to the online tech environment. So he's just asking if you would consider removing the secondary charge on his account for the.
How many late charges does he have?
I believe he's had about 5 or 6. Excuse me, about 4 or 5. And we have issued a one-time late abatement as we are allowed for the internal adjustments. So now that he's gone through the one, he's asking for your consideration.
5.
Madam Chairman, I move to deny.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay. Next item on the agenda is old business. I'm wondering where Cindy isn't here. I'm wondering if we should move some of these around.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, and come back to planning. Let's go down to new business first. What do we say? Okay. All right, so that means, Patrick, you just got a promotion. A major promotion. So So, next, we will take up new business A, which is Patrick's 3 articles for town meeting. And I have been in touch with Patrick. He has a summary that he's been giving to different committees, which I heard him give, and is pretty good. I didn't put your articles in the packet
Right,
because
right.
they've been around everywhere, and we
For a
put
number
it,
of years now.
yeah, and we put information about where people could find them if they were,
I didn't see it.
the information.
Yeah.
Oh, it was on the, we've been putting notes
Oh,
on
okay.
these separator pages, so
Oh, okay.
that's Tracy and I are trying
And
to,
this is just sort of a quick summary then.
they have that,
They have that one?
yeah, that they
all right,
have,
all right.
yeah.
Well, there's no.
So it's your floor,
Yeah,
Patrick.
well, there's no other group in Harwich that's closer connected to the problems of water than you all. So I'm here again just to reiterate and reintroduce and redo for yet on the fertilizers for the 3rd year to ask for your support and getting the word out and seeing if we can get these petitions passed this year. So the fertilizer petition is a home rule petition. It's already been passed in Orleans, Eastham, Wellfleet, and Nantucket. So it's already been approved by the legislature. Well, it hasn't been approved. It's before the legislature now. So it's gone through the steps as home rule request. Again, what this petition is asking for Harwich to have the authority to establish fertilizer regulations. What I'm asking for is to minimize fertilizers, use fertilizers for growing fruits, vegetables in your garden. Don't do this broadcast spraying that we see happening. I've gotten 14 emails from True Green saying, promising me, my yard will be greener than my neighbor's. We just can't continue doing that, as you all are aware, with the condition of our ponds and seashores. The second citizens petition, of course, is again the pesticides, which again, the root word of side means to kill, and that's exactly what it does. So anything in your yard, from birds, bees, butterflies, salamanders, pets, children, whatever's on your yard is going to be affected. And those pesticides also flow through our groundwater and into our estuaries, and we need to be careful what we're doing. So the home rule pesticide simply says no longer outside. If you need personal protection, here's a handout that's on the town hall outside of outside of the Board of Health, and they say, what do you do for mosquitoes? What do you do for ticks? It doesn't say contract your nearest contractor and have them spray your yard. It says take care of yourself, wear the proper clothing, use personal protection, repellents. That's the way to manage ticks and mosquitoes, not by spraying your yard. So basically, that's what the pesticide reduction citizens petition is. Again, another home rule. It too has been approved by Orleans and Wellfleet, Eastham, and Nantucket. This is on the agenda, I think, also for 2 other towns in Massachusetts, in Cape Cod. I don't remember them, sorry. And then the third petition, of course, is a bylaw request, which is a copy of the bylaw that is passed in Mashpee. So it's already gone through all the approval needs in terms of form and function. So there's no question about, is it correct? Yes, it is. The Attorney General's already approved it, so I'm not creating something new, I'm copying. Trees are critically important to our environment. They provide us our air. As you know, they control runoff. They support so many aspects of life in nature, birds, bees, insects that we all need here. It's the reason why we live here. We live in a rural landscape, a rural town, and we need to maintain that. So this is asking to minimize tree cutting when there is building going on or construction going on. No longer can you clear cut a lot. There is defined by the setback. Every lot has setback regulations, right? Whether it's 20 feet, 30 feet. That setback area is now defined as a tree yard, and trees over greater than 6 inches diameter in that setback perimeter tree yard are protected trees. You can't just cut them down, okay? You can cut them, but with the stipulation, you need to either pay into a tree preservation fund that the town would manage, and/or plant the equivalent diameter trees in their replacement, okay? Trees that are a danger can be cut, of course. Trees that are unhealthy, of course, can be cut. If you're not building, if you're not constructing, do whatever you want. It's your private yard, do whatever you want. This is only trying to address new construction and the clear cutting that we see happening throughout Harwich. So, and it's preserving our rural landscape and the reason why we all live here. So, you know, very, very quickly, you know, the reason we live here are for our ponds, for our woodlands, and our seashore, and they're all being threatened by our actions, by what we do. So, again, I'm asking for your support. Last year, there was the complaint against all 3 petitions that I didn't follow procedure. Okay? It was said I didn't hold town hearings. I, as a person, cannot call a town hearing. Only the select board can. So that was a false accusation. Okay? And it swayed people in their voting that I didn't follow procedure, and it was not true. Okay? So again, this year I've gone to the Board of Health, I've gone to the Select Board, Concom, RIOS, you, anyone at any one of those meetings could come and speak. So people can speak openly. Yeah.
As a former successful petition article person, I heard that last year when that was said. The only thing I can think of, Patrick, for you to answer that this year is for you, in answer to that, to say, I requested board XYZ, blah, 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 for their opinion or support on this thing, and they declined. You know, at least then the public knows that you approached them.
Right.
Last year, the way it was presented, and I know you did approach them, but the way it was presented last year for people who don't follow things as closely as us, that may have seemed confusing to them.
Right.
So just a thought.
I've talked to Leo, okay, and we're on the same page on that. So I will again hold a public information session. It's Saturday, the 26th, 10 o'clock at the community center. It'll be published in the Chronicle, and it'll be an open discussion about the citizens' petition, so anyone is welcome to attend. I did that last year as well. I called them forums. I didn't call them open discussions. So, you know the tangle that politics can get ourselves into. So I'm here simply to ask for your support, and let's see if we can move this forward and be successful.
Can I ask about the rescinding of the plastic water bottle ban?
Yes.
Also, are they trying to rescind that? And the same thing with the single-use plastic food service?
Yes.
Owning a restaurant is interesting because I got notified of this, but we were told they didn't have the staff to enforce it, so ignore it, which I thought defeated the purpose, because we were moving towards paper anyway. And then, of course, all this other stuff comes up in Washington and everything, but I was always pro going to paper and getting rid of plastic. When we bought the place, we were under a plastic restriction. We had to serve in plastic. And it was just filling the landfills. So it's very confusing that they don't have any enforcement of these items.
I wouldn't ignore it.
I don't.
Yeah,
but-
no, I mean in the sense of I would, if you're against the plastic
Yeah.
being then be vocal as an I don't think as a board we can
No, we can.
No.
support or, but as an individual, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just trying to say that there's they're not enforcing these bylaws.
Bob, you're using the word "they." I
Oh.
just want you to know that the "they" in the ban is a private petitioner, not the town.
There's a bylaw, right?
Yes.
We're-
So that is the town.
So the town would have to
Right,
enforce it.
but to change it to allow plastic bottles is a private petition.
Right, I was mostly on this
I didn't
single-use
really-
plastic service because I got a letter.
Well, that's what I'm
When
talking
did you get
about,
a
but
letter?
where are you?
I want to say maybe
I don't
it
know
was
where
in
you are.
November,
We don't know where
December.
you are, Bob.
At the bottom,
He must have a different page from
Yeah.
Patrick than we do.
it's from,
All right, whatever. That's all right.
anyway, I don't mean to hold up the
Yeah.
meeting.
No, this is an important discussion.
But basically, when a bylaw comes down and it affects us, because we have to buy all this stuff for
Right.
to-go things, and we were moving towards sustainable to go, and then we're told to ignore the bylaw, nobody's gonna come in and check. So,
And when you say that you were told.
I think it came from either the town administrator's office,
Wow.
basically.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, I'd have to look for the letter, but,
Yeah.
it's always confusing when we get notices like that there's no one, basically it was based on there's no one to enforce this.
I'd have to look back. I don't know if there were fines related with that particular.
We weren't ever told that,
Yeah.
because I think there was a time frame you had to
Right.
adhere to this.
Yeah, yeah,
And we were all in favor of it, it's just
Yeah.
simply looking for different products.
right, right. I'd like
There's
to,
a lot out there now
There
in
is.
the last few years.
I'd like to sit with you, because one of the arguments is it's too costly not to have the
Plastic's
plastic.
not cheap.
No.
Well, whether you talk about plastics from oil drilling, pipelines, refinery, plastic making, plastic use, or plastic disposal, it's a huge expense on our lives.
I think when they had us on a restriction for the seal when I bought it, I refused the health department license based on that till we could get glass, but it was $40,000 a year for plastic ware and plate, and, that was all going to the landfill.
Right.
They
Yeah.
thought it was saving the septic systems, but no, it's not, it's filling the
And
landfill.
what are you using now?
Glass and
Yeah.
plates, and
Yeah.
we have a dishwasher
Yeah.
doesn't use as much water and is more ecological.
Right, right. And you're with the seal?
Yeah.
I'm gonna come talk with you.
Okay.
Because I need some numbers, because the argument here is having plastic restricted imposes a huge cost on the operators for alternatives.
It's been stir sticks, we went from plastic to wooden,
And how much did that cost you?
I think it's less, actually.
So we need to hear that.
All right, I'm gonna pull you back to, yeah.
We could,
But let me just say,
Yeah.
there's always this argument, how are you going to enforce it? How do you enforce every single stop sign? Is there an officer there making sure you stop? No, the majority of people follow the rules and pay attention and will behave correctly. Okay? And then there's always the argument, well, we need education first. You must educate everybody first. Is that how it happened with smoking? We had to hold forums and public hearings about smoking? No. We learned through the process of not allowing indoor smoking that it's dangerous. I mean, this whole thing is education. It's just not, going to grade school, class A, B, C, to learn that I shouldn't smoke. The whole process is included. Yeah.
I was just gonna recommend that maybe you come up with a list of speakers that are not elected officials from our town, like Leo, who does organic farming, if I'm correct,
Yeah.
right? He's an organic farmer.
Yes.
And, different diverse, from the Harwich Conservation Trust, the director, I'm blanking on his name,
Yeah, Michael Locke.
Michael Locke.
He will stay 100% away from any political
Okay,
ID.
yeah, because he's got all the, okay. But, I mean, people from diverse stakeholders, right, throughout the community, and maybe Andy from APCC,
Maybe some landscapers.
Right.
and some, what, there's a lot of landscapers that are only using
Yeah, I know.
low nitrogen,
Right.
as well as different, and the folks from the mosquito.
Yes.
Maybe they would come in and talk about.
Well, the
things
issue
like that.
is town meeting is restricted to residents only.
Unless permission is asked. But
They wouldn't even let a 15-year-old Girl Scout speak last
Oh,
town
don't
meeting.
even get me started
All
on
right?
that. I'm just
Because she
like,
wasn't a resident voter, okay? So,
don't get me started on that. because I will, yeah, that was so inappropriate, but,
It's
maybe
tough.
some of the
Yeah.
science teachers from the high school that are residents of Harwich?
Yeah, yeah. It's hard, yeah.
So I have a quick question. And I actually wrote to Patrick as a resident about an issue. So I could be wrong, but I thought in maybe it was one of the other versions of the petition article, I thought originally it talked about using organics for
Yes.
fertilizers. Okay, it did.
Yes.
So I was getting ready for spring, and I was reading the ingredients in the organic fertilizers, and I was shocked at how high the nitrogen and phosphorus contents were. I wouldn't buy them. So that's when I wrote to you that morning, and I wrote to Patrick, and I said, Patrick, I said, not everybody wants to be 100% pure. You know, I mean,
Right.
Patrick wants everybody to stop everything, you know, blah, blah, blah. But there's a lot of people out there that, like me, who would like to be a little bit better. But
Right.
no, we don't want to spend our life, you know, throwing lime down and being 100. We just don't want to. So I asked Patrick to give me a list of what organic fertilizers he felt would environmentally fit into this thing, and he couldn't, which is fine. But all I'm saying is that a town can't give out a list of private products. A board can't give out a list of private products. Patrick can, he's an individual. And just,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that for people in the middle, if they had a list of saying, oh gee, ABC product is better, Bonan, you know, whatever is better, then that would make the environment a little bit better. It wouldn't make it as perfect as you
Yeah,
want it to me, but it would be for those of us who, you know, don't let the perfect ruin the good, you know, in life. So at any rate, that was just my thought.
And you bring up a good point. I don't have a direct answer for you.
Right.
Use this product. You mean, all this says is allowable under USDA National Organic Program of Organic Standards, OMRI listed.
I can tell you,
What are
the
those?
phosphorus and the nitrogen contents were high. And
Okay.
I live right in front of the Herring River, so I
Yeah.
have to be very conscious of.
So organic, those products are probably still organic, because nitrogen and
Right.
phosphorus are organic
Exactly.
compounds, right?
Yeah.
But there's
But your
products
body-
out there that are low.
I couldn't find them, that's why I asked for a list.
Yeah. I'll talk to Michael Herman
Yeah.
at in Orleans.
Yeah.
He may come up with a good.
It was just a thought, to
No.
go a different direction. That not everything has to be so extreme as to say, stop doing everything.
Well, right. I'm just asking, don't do this yard spraying.
Right.
Do your gardens, do your flowers, do your vegetables. Let's stop spraying your yards.
And can I ask,
Yeah.
whoever knows, so, for, individual petitions, how do they get placed? And my suggestion is maybe these don't come one after the other like they did last year, because by the time you got to the third one, people were just like done.
They're already placed.
They're already.
The warrant's
placed and stuff.
complete.
And are these all are they next to each other?
It's in the-
35, 36, 37, 38, 40,
Okay.
yeah.
They're next to each other.
They're next to each other.
Yeah.
And then my only other recommendation is, the one on the trees. I think it's, I think you should work with some folks on how you're gonna present that, because I think people that don't have that conservation itch in their blood are gonna see this as completely restrictive, and they're not going to, and they're gonna see you as some hippy, right? And I know that's not the case, so, I'll think about it and think of some people that might be able
All right,
to,
good.
for you to talk to.
Yeah.
And talk to Leo about how to present something like this, because he gets it, I think,
Right.
you know, I mean, he's clearly not a, you know, he's more the other side of the spectrum,
Yeah.
let's say.
All right, well, thank you, Patrick.
No, thank
We
you,
always like
thank you for
to
suggestions.
hear your ideas.
Bob, I'd like to sit down with you.
Yeah,
just to get-
maybe just come in to see, I'll talk to Mike Scott with me, because he does the ordering,
Okay.
and we
What's it
go
when?
usually around this time. It's good.
Oh, really? You're in the early in the
Yeah.
morning?
Yeah, we open at 6.
Wow, okay.
So with that said, and a
Thank you.
lengthy agenda,
Thanks, Patrick.
Good, good.
I'm sorry, thank you, Patrick.
Thank you very much.
We'll move on to the hydraulic model presentation.
Maybe I'll watch it.
And we have,
Yeah.
Yeah, this is cool.
I like our TV.
we have Lauren,
I like the TV.
we have Lauren and Ian Mead from Apex. What's your last name, Lauren?
Underwood.
Underwood.
Yep.
Oh, there's another one.
I noticed that. I was like, I've never met someone with that last name.
We would have moved you up to the first item.
I'm getting married, so not for long.
Anybody ever call you Underhill?
Haven't got that, actually. I get a lot of, are you related? But they never, it's usually Carrie they're asking about.
Where did
They
you
always
grow up?
call her that.
I grew up in the North Shore, Danvers. My parents were in the North Shore as well.
Where?
Danvers?
Peabody.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we'll have to talk.
Yeah,
A lot of
absolutely.
Underwood history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Everywhere, apparently.
Place is lousy with them. Lousy rabbits.
And so, and as you can see, this is our new
Yeah.
display up there.
Very nice.
Very
Um,
cool.
Sandy did a great job. She ordered everything and coordinated with Paul, and Paul came in here and put that up.
Great,
It's good.
great having an
So
electrician.
you're the first two to.
This is the pilot. The
Right.
Pilot.
Yeah, that's right.
Good. We'll try not to break it.
I was worried when he said it needs to be turned on. I was like, uh-oh.
Nailed it.
We haven't gotten that far yet.
Don't stand
And
under it.
for the board to know, there is the proposal is in your packet.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for giving us some time this morning. We've been talking with Jason about providing an updated hydraulic model study for the water department. And he thought it would be a good idea for us to just come down and reintroduce ourselves to you all. As the chair mentioned, Apex is formerly Environmental Partners here in the Northeast. Apex is a larger company, and we'll get into that a little bit, but Lauren and I are both part of the principal leadership team here in the Northeast. There's about 13 to 14 of us that help set policy and direction and make sure that we have correct resources assigned to projects. So we very much appreciate the opportunity to be here before you. So I'll do just a couple brief slides on Apex overall, and then Lauren will get into some of the nuts and bolts. And we do want this to be interactive, so if you have questions as we go through, please stop us and ask Jason, make sure you ask some questions, because we don't just like to sit here and talk to you, we like to talk with you. So Apex, our parent company, is now almost, about 70 offices, 1,700 employees. Here in the Northeast, what we would call the Legacy Environmental Partners team is about 100 folks. Headquartered in Quincy, Woburn. We have an office out here on the Cape, and we're actually evaluating where that office is going to be going forward. We do have a very strong presence out here on the Cape from end to end, working with a number of different communities, East End, Truro, doing a lot of open work in Dennis, and several other spots. So lots of awards and different types of services. In addition to water, we do wastewater work, we do transportation work. A big part of Apex's legacy service offerings is on the environmental health and safety training and things of that nature.
Are you doing the inspection work for Dennis, for the treatment plant?
We are the OPMs for that. I don't believe we have the inspection on the plant. So we work as the owner's project manager on that sewer system development. So CDM is the designer on that project. So we work with the town, with CDM staff throughout construction as eyes and ears. So
CDM has designed the treatment plant?
correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yep. So again, I kind of touched on it briefly. We do water, environmental, health and safety,
compliance, testing, a lot of commercial stormwater inspections and things of that nature. But infrastructure is a big part of what we've always done here in the Northeast. So what we would probably call our bread and butter work, water, wastewater, pipeline, pump stations, treatment plants, things of that nature. So we've got pins all over the map here in New England for that type of work. So again, what we wanted to do, just I'm going to hand off to Lauren and she'll step through kind of an overview of what hydraulic modeling is, why we do it, how it's a useful tool for you going forward, and then some of the specifics on your system. So, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ian.
You see? Am I in the way?
Oh, yeah, fine. Yeah, just keep your head down.
So thanks again, everyone, for allowing us to present this to you today. I've been with Apex for 12 years. I started as an entry-level engineer, and now I'm in the principal leadership group, like Ian mentioned. So came up through the trenches, did a lot of the really in-depth hydraulic modeling back in the day. Now, so not doing so much of that hands-on work, just kind of managing. But we have a great team that is continuing to provide this service to our clients. Just wanted to start by giving you a little bit of background on a hydraulic model for anyone that might not be familiar with what that is. Essentially, it's a computer simulation of your water distribution system. So a somewhat skeletonized version of what your water department's dealing with out in the field every single day. As you can imagine, it's a very useful tool, and it really allows you to kind of start to get into that proactive seat as opposed to a reactive seat when operating your water system. So we'll talk more about what that means exactly, but this is a great, great planning tool that we highly recommend for all of our clients, just to allow you to really be able to utilize and manage your water system to the best possible capacity. What you would see inside of your built-out hydraulic model, of course, your water mains, your water tanks, your water sources, your pumps, whether from your water sources or elsewhere in the water system. And we also assign elevations throughout the water model because that directly relates to the hydraulic grade line. So that's going to be important to be representative of your field conditions. As you can imagine, having your water demands included in your model is also really important. So there's a couple different ways we can do this. As you probably know, you do currently have a model, but it dates back to 2002. So things have come a long, long way since then. It's a great starting point, but we have a lot of improvements we could potentially make to that model, which is kind of outlined in your proposal that you have. So that being said, the current model that Harwich has does kind of have the water mains in it, the tanks, water sources, all those kind of things. The elevations were assigned in an older type way, which we can definitely make a lot more accurate these days. Similarly, demands were assigned in a really simplified way, basically taking all this demands for the water system and spreading them equally throughout, which, as I'm sure we all know, that's not how it is out in the field. So these days we can actually use billing data and attribute real usage based on the different parcels in the town to where that demand's really being seen. So a lot more accurate as far as projections with demands go. We also have the ability to adjust demands based on seasonality, which I'm sure you're really familiar with. A lot more demands in the summer here as opposed to the winter, so we can assign what we call diurnal curves to the demands in the water model, which allows us to see how those demands fluctuate and vary by time of year and also just by time of day. So you can get really granular with it if you want to. And we also include set points and control logic in the model. So that would be, when are the pumps in the water system supposed to turn on? At what water level in the tank is that supposed to happen? All these kind of things that allow the water system to run basically on its own is what we simulate in the model. So it really is just a computerized version of your real water system. And finally, something else we like to include in our models, which is not always included, it kind of depends on what information you have available for us, would be valve and hydrant GIS. So letting us know where your hydrants are in the system, where your valves are in the system, helps us to be able to run different types of simulations for you, give you a more accurate set of data, depending on what you're trying to look at. And the most important component of having a hydraulic model is, of course, making sure that it's accurate, right? When you run something, you want to make sure that it's giving you results that reflect what you would see in the field. So a big part of this, when you first kind of embark on your hydraulic model journey, would be calibrating it and taking the time to really do that correctly. So we'll talk about that more. That's essentially what the scope of your proposal is creating your model and calibrating it to make sure that it is completely reliable for use.
It's all about Paul.
That's right, absolutely.
A great t-shirt.
Yeah, it's a punchline. Let's trademark that before we leave.
Comes up with a new shirt.
All about the blue.
So the only other thing I want to say kind of high level on calibration is the biggest thing that kind of impacts the calibration would be what we call C factors or roughness coefficients on your water pipes. Those are going to be the most variable in your unlined cast iron water mains, which I think 50% of your system, give or take, is unlined cast iron. And that's because of the tuberculation that grows on those pipes, right? So the more tuberculation that kind of comes up inside of those pipes, the lower the C factor is, the less hydraulic capacity, carrying capacity you have within those pipes. So that's a lot of the time what we're using to calibrate the model and make sure that the condition of your pipes, as we best understand it, is reflected in the hydraulic model.
What does the C mean, crud?
You know? I'm actually not sure what the C means. It's a roughness coefficient, but I don't know what the C stands for.
Say it again?
It's a roughness coefficient is what the C factor is.
Of the coefficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Got it.
coefficient factor, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
So this is the first step in creating a hydrant flushing program.
That's right.
Correct.
Yep.
Yes, yeah, as Lauren mentioned, you have all that information in there, and we have it calibrated, then it becomes the basis for your unidirectional flushing program. So once we know that we've got it calibrated nice and tight, then setting up the UDF program is relatively straightforward. And then, you know, as you know, when you go out in the field, you start opening valves, stuff's always, you always find something.
Yep.
Something that was closed, it should have been opened, or vice versa, and we can make adjustments and make sure that those, the flushing program sheets are current and up to date based on what you know.
Mhm.
So what can the model do? Essentially, once you have it fully calibrated, you can simulate pressures anywhere. We kind of know what the pressures would be under any sort of demand scenario, under any sort of scenario with the tanks, depending on the water level in the tanks. We can tell you at any point what your pressure in a certain area of the system would be. Flow rates, right? We already talked about that. Similarly, fire flow availability. So if you want to know at a certain hydrant location in the system what the fire flow availability is there, maybe you have some ISO locations in town that have a certain required available fire flow. You want to know whether or not you're achieving that. All things that we can do with the hydraulic model. We can also tell you the velocities that you're seeing in the pipes. Typically, under typical operation, you shouldn't be seeing very high velocities, but in a unidirectional flushing program, for example, the goal is to increase velocity in the pipe so you can really flush and clean those mains, right? So you need to be really strategic about what you're doing to make sure that you are increasing your velocities. So that's why the water model is such an important thing to use for the hydraulic unidirectional flushing program. Otherwise, you're kind of just not really sure what's happening. You can't really know exactly what the velocity is in the system. So this is a planned approach to make sure you're being effective with those types of things. Other things you can look at, water age throughout the system. You know, different, if you have dead ends in the system that are far away from water sources, if you're interested to know how long that water's been in the pipes, we can give you information like that. Similarly, trace analyses, you can go to any point in the water system and know how much of the water in this particular area is contributed to GP1 versus GP5 in a percentage-based algorithm there. So we can do that. And if you really want to get fancy with it, we can even go as far as to do some hydraulic modeling for water quality. As you can imagine, this takes a lot of inputs into the model, so we would need a lot of water quality data to be able to calibrate the model in that way. But eventually you could use that to evaluate residuals in your system, constituents, and really take this to the next level. So we do some of that as well with some of our clients. Kind of continuing on that thought, another great use of a calibrated hydraulic model is to evaluate developments, proposed developments coming into town. So a lot of times for our clients, we'll do kind of an evaluation report, hydraulic evaluation, in which we review something that's come to the zoning board, and we input that proposed development into the model, as well as whatever their demands are anticipated to be. We'll tell you what their pressures are expected to be in that development based on the demands and based on the elevations. We'll tell you what the anticipated fire flow availability is over there. We also review their proposed plans just to make sure everything's being proposed in coordination with the Harwich rules and regs. So that's kind of a great tool to have in your back pocket, just to make sure you are making a mindful decision about whether or not you're allowing future development in town. We can also do pressure zone studies. You know, I'm pretty sure Harwich is one pressure zone, is that right? But we do work with plenty of other communities that have multiple pressure zones or have decided to create more pressure zones based on how their system's configured. So that's something we can simulate in the model and kind of show you what that would look like if of interest. Another great use of the hydraulic model is identifying water main upgrades, identifying what your capital improvements plans should look like for the next 5, 10, 20 years. Again, sometimes in a typical scenario, if you don't have a tool like this, you're kind of just guessing what should be done. You know, maybe you have a pipe that's been nonstop breaking. Of course, we have to replace that. We're in a reactive approach in that sort of scenario. So when you have the hydraulic model, you can look and understand what should we be planning for replacement 15 years from now. That maybe right now we don't know is an issue, but it will be an issue then, and we're planning for it now. So really getting ahead of those types of considerations and decisions you have to make. If you have a tank that has to go offline because you need to rehab it, you can simulate that scenario in your hydraulic model. Take that tank offline, see how it impacts your system. Of course it will, so we want to be prepared for those types of scenarios before going into it. If you need to make a shutdown for any sort of reason whatsoever, maybe even a water main break, obviously those aren't planned, but if you ever need to do any sort of shutdown, we can simulate that in the model, show you what the impacts of that would be. Any sort of incident you have, I know that Harwich has very low unaccounted for water, but if for some reason you started to notice it's creeping up, maybe you have a leak you don't know about, we could try to pinpoint that area in the hydraulic model for you. We've already talked kind of at length about the unidirectional flushing programs, really important component of maintaining your water system, ensuring that it's continuing to function at its highest capability. So that is kind of a natural progression, usually for our clients, going from a calibrated hydraulic model into a unidirectional flushing program project. And also revising control schemes. So if you want to investigate what it might look like if you change your water tank levels and when your pumps turn on and off, we can simulate that in the model first, let you know what that looks like before making any rash decisions out in the field. So that's just kind of a big, broad evaluation of what we could do with the model. There's a whole bunch of other things you can do too, but those are kind of the main things that you can look forward to using a model for. Any questions about any of that?
Can we get a copy of that slide deck?
Yeah, 100%.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
Send it to
absolutely.
Jason and he'll ship it to us.
No
Thank you.
problem.
And is it real time? Like, will Jason be able to play with it whenever he wants to, or does he send a request to you guys and then you build out that specific?
Great question. So if Jason wants to learn how to hydraulic model, he certainly could. But we would recommend you just come to us. It's really a detailed process, and especially when you want to be able to get really specific in what you're evaluating and make sure things are right. Like
So it's really for forward planning, it's not for if there's some water main break somewhere, he doesn't look at the system and go, oh, we should shut down here, here, and here.
Yes,
right?
that would actually be a different tool, which he
Different
probably
tool.
already has access to as it stands, more GIS maps and things like that. So
It's a good question though, because the way the models are built now, they're generally built on top of a GIS system, so they're definitely related.
yes,
So you can do, what you're talking about is typically called like a tracing tool, like if we have an issue here, what valves do we need to go to shut that down? So as Lauren mentioned, you know, having a good handle on that data is an important part of setting it up. If we have accurate location data on valves and hydrants, it just makes everything that follows more accurate and more helpful, whether it's UDF or tracing issues.
One thing that has always been on the mind is the part of the water system that was put in the 40s, where we stand with that,
right.
as far as the crud and the buildups and the rust. And I know Howard Center used to be bad. I don't know now, but generally everything out of the water fountain here is pretty clear. But as far as the residents go, I mean, those pipes have been in the ground for a long time.
Right.
And I'm sure some of them have been replaced,
Mhm.
but to go out and redo it all,
Right.
I mean,
It's a lot of money.
yeah, I mean, that's serious. So, I don't know, we get many complaints, is rust in the water in those older Howard Center 28? I guess.
Not that I'm aware of right
Yeah.
now, so I don't hear of any.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't
complaints.
heard anything. Only a couple of times over the years was the water slowed down, you know, the
Right.
flow.
That's right. That's the biggest thing that would be attributed to that is
Yeah.
those lower roughness coefficients, the lower hydraulic carrying capacity, the lower fire flow availability.
Yeah,
If you've
so-
seen a dead end 6-inch water main, you might get 2 inches through it,
Yeah.
right? And it looks
Yeah.
like there's a bunch of stones glued to the inside of the pipe wall.
Yeah.
That's the tuberculation that we're talking about. So when we do, which Lauren will get into, but we'll talk about it, the fire flow tests that we do, or the calibration tests that we do with Jason and his staff, we'll flow the hydrants and monitor the pressure drop that happens between point A and point B, and that allows us to estimate that roughness coefficient.
Yeah.
And most often, that roughness coefficient, when it's lower, is attributed to that tuberculation. So the other thing, just to your point on the age of the water mains, some of the other considerations, when you're building things near or around wartime, the steel is not as good, right? Because the steel was going into tanks and planes and everything else. So one of the earlier slides talked about risk-based assessment, and some of our, generally this is for like your cities of Boston and some of the other very large systems, they'll split their pipelines up into cohorts and look at those years, and some of them do have significant challenges associated with them, and they use that as a planning tool in conjunction with the model to figure out where they want to go. But if you're not getting water quality complaints and you're not having breaks in those areas, it could just be, your treatment for that type of a pipe might be a cleaning and lining project where you're not spending $2 million to replace a mile of pipe. You're spending half or less of that to clean it, line it, and get a good water quality coating in there, because structurally your pipe may still be okay. Some of that old pick cast pipe can go 200, 250 years. So those are the types of things that we want to figure out.
I know over the years we have cleaned and replaced some. But where we stand today,
Right.
yeah.
So that's kind of one of the goals of the hydraulic model, is to understand where we stand today, right?
Yeah.
Make sure we understand where the lowest C factors are and help you to prioritize and plan which replacements should happen first, because we know you can't do them all at the same time.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, okay.
2 questions. First is, you mentioned that this would show a model of what would happen if you had to shut down a storage tank. You could also simulate what would happen if you had to shut down a well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second question, different topic. We have a lot of dead ends in town, so the tuberculation, I guess is the word that you're talking about, on a situation where you have a dead end for many decades, would the tuberculation be worse beyond the point of the last hydrant? Would it be the same on the whole street?
It would depend on a couple of things. How long is the dead end? How many users are on that stretch
Yeah.
of water main? If you have more users, you're getting more flow in the pipe. If there's a long piece of dead end, yeah, it could be a spot where you are accumulating material and it's
Right.
plugging up. So in some cases, you end up with a microbial-induced corrosion, and it becomes fairly consistent across the line once it happens,
I see.
especially if it's 50, 60, 100 years old. It's gotten to the point where it all looks pretty
No, that's
consistent.
okay. No, I live on one of those, and
I'm sure yours is perfect.
but.
It does, it directly depends on what the material of the pipe is as
Sure,
well.
yes.
So unlined cast iron is really where this is an issue.
Yeah.
Asbestos cement, although we're trying to get that out of the ground for numerous reasons, that doesn't get any tuberculation on it whatsoever. PVC won't either, ductile iron usually doesn't either.
What doesn't get any?
PVC,
Okay,
asbestos cement, and ductile iron.
all right.
And-
Check that out later.
We'll check your house in the model.
Well, and when Jason and the crew go out and, the few times they have to go out and deal with a leak or a main break, they're taking a look at what the pipe looks like.
Yeah.
And so that's a data point every
No,
time someone calls.
I'm really not asking just about me.
No, I
It's
understand.
the nature of our developments, we have a lot of
Yes.
dead
Yeah.
ends, so.
And something else you can do in the model is, in some cases, we look at eliminating dead ends by
Right.
where can we add some connections for
Yeah.
key parts of the system where we have higher demands, or we have some key users and we need to improve flow through there. So we can play, again, as Lauren said, we can
Right.
play with all those scenarios. It doesn't cost, other than some time at the computer,
Yeah.
it's not like we're out in the field putting pipe in.
Right.
You can see
Great.
what that looks like in the model and how the impact.
Sounds wonderful.
It is wonderful. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I know over the years, we used to have serious problems in town with the dead ends. And then somebody got smart and decided to put a hydrant at the dead end. So it saved a lot of grief over the
Right.
years. But, I mean, some of it was ugly.
But we have a lot without the hydrant, so we'll be looking into that this year. Yeah.
I think that, just in general, and Jason could probably speak to this better than I could, but the proactive flushing on an annual or semi-annual basis, I think, has become more prevalent and a more regular part of regular O&M. So that helps address some of those issues as well. You get that velocity, as Lauren mentioned, helps pull that loose material out of the pipe, especially if you're adding a hydrant in a key location.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a key consideration.
Quite a sight.
It's all about the flow.
Yeah.
We're gonna use that. We're gonna use that.
Have you worked with any, I suppose, large systems that are using the small robotic scrubbers in the pipes?
For cleaning?
For cleaning?
Yeah, no, we've done all sorts of pipe condition assessment and rehabilitation on all sizes, types, and ages of water mains. So the sort of bread and butter or conventional way to do it was they can actually draw like a bucket scrubber or a bucket scraper through the line, and then typically you would do a cement mortar lining on an unlined cast iron. There is some economy of scale, and we want to look at whether it's cost effective. If you have an old tuberculated 6-inch main, from a fire flow perspective, you're probably going to want to replace that with a newer 8-inch pipe, just in general. You know, obviously we verify that in the model, but we don't typically improve old 6-inch lines. We want to get a little bit more capacity in there for fire flow. But for some of the larger mains, certainly a cleaning and lining. There are different rehabilitation methods beyond just the cement mortar lining, which is what you would think of as like a water quality lining. It doesn't add any strength to the pipe, but there are other materials such as epoxy that can be used in lieu of cement mortar lining that adds some structural strength to an existing pipe. So there are a lot of different options in terms of rehabilitation, replacement, redundancy, trenchless technologies that can be looked at to help modify the system.
Well, any other questions?
Oh, I still got plenty more stuff to tell
Well,
you.
we should just check in with you in terms of timing. We do have a few more,
Yeah,
just
go
kind of
ahead.
specific to your system and that
No.
Try to keep it
proposal.
quick.
Yeah.
I can talk about modeling literally all day, so.
Jason blocked us out for 6 hours.
That's Jason. When is
Doesn't surprise me.
Hey, they're buying lunch.
Bye, Patrick.
Bye. So, as you know, you do have a hydraulic model. It dates back to 2002. We have it on the Apex servers. I believe EP put it together for you back then. So we found a save of it from 2009, which I don't think we did anything with it back then. Someone just happened to save it then, which is great because we were able to take that and convert it to the modern format. So we're not starting from scratch. So that's what you see on the right is kind of a very skeletonized version of your hydraulic model in the WaterCAD software. So as far as what's built out in there right now, you do have your 5 well fields comprised of the 14 groundwater wells, the 3 storage tanks are in there. It also actually includes what was projected as the capital improvements plan for 2020 back in 2002. So anything that was recommended for work to be done through 2020 is in the model. So that'll be fun to kind of look back and see what was actually completed out of that. And we also did some calibration of the model back then. So as Ian kind of already mentioned, that is usually done in the field with real fire flow tests performed in the field. That's done with the engineering field team as well as the water department. Getting out there and just flowing hydrants, taking static residual pressure readings, taking flow readings, which allows us, as Ian said, to kind of get a better understanding of the condition of those pipes and come back and get that calibration completed. So our goal is to understand what's happening in the field through the field work and go and actually calibrate the model to allow the model to simulate what we saw in the field, right? So that's kind of that first calibration step. So back then we did 23 of those standard flow tests. We also did 8 C-factor tests, which is just a little bit more advanced work in the field to really hone in on the specific C-factors if that's of interest for particular pipes. Something else the flow testing can bring to light is, like Ian said, there might be a closed valve in the system that no one knew about. So the calibration exercise will kind of bring those things to light. We'll bring them to Jason, hey, can you go out in the field and see if you can find a closed valve in this vicinity? Oftentimes they will. That's great. They open it up. Hydraulics are better immediately. We make sure the model is reflective of those current situations. So that's kind of what the...
It's sort of amazing when they say, go out and look in this area, you have a closed valve somewhere. And coming from being out in the field, you're like, no, we don't. But go out there and check it anyways, and come to find out, yeah, we do.
And it's so rewarding when that happens.
No, go check it.
Just
wow.
go check, okay.
No, it's true. It's really crazy. So the demands we talked about earlier, there are demands allocated to the model. We've assessed that since 2002, your average day demands have actually decreased a lot. So maybe people are conserving water more, maybe there are less people here overall. However, your maximum day demands have increased. So you're seeing a lot higher demands in the summertime predominantly than you were back in 2002. So as a result, that ratio between the two has increased. It was about 2.06 multiplier on that ratio back in 2002. Now, based on what we're seeing in your annual statistical report, it's more like 2.7 ratio. That's just something to kind of note. And like I mentioned, back in 2002, about 97% of the system demands in Harwich were evenly distributed through the model. We took maybe the top 5 to 10 users in town, allocated real demands for them. Now we'll be able to go in there and actually assign real demands everywhere throughout the system based on billing data. Elevations, again, modern databases are far more precise, so we'll be looking to use LiDAR data to distribute elevations throughout the system as opposed to how we did it back then, which I'm sure is not nearly as accurate. Your water mains are in there. They do have the C factors on them based on the calibration we did back in 2002. Of course, those will need to be updated. I'm sure there's been several system improvements that have taken place since then that we'll want to make sure are included in the model. And of course, C factors, pipe condition in general, is likely declined over 20 years. So it's really important to be able to get out there, do some more field testing so we can completely refresh the calibration of the model. A few things that appear to be missing in the current model: well-specific capacities, what the wells are actually capable of producing for water. That's easy, we can add that in now. We noticed the Lothrop Ave pump station does not appear to be included in the current model as it stands. Again, not a big deal, something we can add in. And the biggest thing that I want to draw attention to is the current model does not have any extended period simulation capability. That is what allows you to do all those great things with the model that we talked about. So the steady state calibration, which is what you have now, that's allowing you to look at one snapshot in time, such as a fire flow test. Once you're able to have your model calibrated for extended period simulation, you get into everything else with the development reviews, the proactive approach to capital improvements, the simulations of tanks offline, wells offline, all those kind of things. So really, really important to have that in your model if you're gonna take on this investment in your water system. Questions on that? Almost done. So you know, Ian and myself just wanted to mention Will Shotsky as well. He's a project manager out of our Quincy office. Really great to work with, great guy. So he's kind of the one that we have proposed to manage the project directly. Ian and I, of course, will always be involved as well. And like I mentioned at the beginning of this, we have a really talented team of hydraulic modelers. So while that's not completely hashed out yet of who would be particularly working on this project, full confidence in every single one of them. They could talk about this for 3 days as opposed to the one that I could. So, and finally, we just want to wrap it up with kind of just highlighting the scope that we included in the proposal for your review. So it is broken down into 3 tasks. The first task is the hydraulic model update itself. So if there's any newer GIS of the water system that we can import into the model, we would love to have access to that, update the infrastructure build out itself, reassign ground elevations with LiDAR, like I already mentioned, reassign demands, like I already mentioned, update pump performance curves if any pumps have been replaced, if you have any recent performance data on your pumps. If not, we might request to do a quick flow test on your well sources so we have real information on what those pumps are capable of outputting, as well as the well performance data, that specific capacity data I already mentioned. Once we're built out, we go into the static calibration phase. So, like we talked about, the field flow tests with Jason's staff out in the field. We've scoped out up to 32 standard flow tests this time around and 8 C-factor tests, which would be targeted for those unlined cast iron pipes where the C-factor really does vary the most, and that would likely be about a week of field work. We then use the field data that we take as well as SCADA data from the SCADA system that Jason would provide us to simulate each test in the model, get everything matching, find some of those anomalies and kind of get to the bottom of those, which can take a few weeks usually, with the goal of calibrating the model as closely as possible to 3 PSI accuracy. So usually a couple back and forths with the water department, we're able to get that, no problem. Yep, that's that. And then finally, that EPS calibration, the extended period simulation calibration. So this is where we get to create those seasonal diurnal curves based on your demands. We get another SCADA dump from Jason showing us what your tank levels are when your pumps are running, and we can kind of use that to create those diurnal demand curves on an hourly basis or even by the minute if you want to get that granular with it. That's when we add the operational and control logics in. So when your pumps turn on, when your pumps turn off, based on tank level, however else you run your system, we put that all into the model and we start the simulations. So we can show over a 7-day period during the winter, 1-day period over the summer, whatever you want, how your tanks fluctuate and how your pumps fluctuate. And that kind of information is how we can maybe refine something to be better operationally. If there's a pump that's kicking on, kicking off constantly, that's not a really good operation. So we can see that in the model and we could try to figure out how we refine that, make that better for the water system and allow for that pump to live a little bit longer than maybe it would have otherwise. And like I said, so the water age trace analyses, the control reviews, all these things that we talked about is where this EPS calibration is really important. So essentially our scope in front of you today is to bring your model into 2025 and going forward and allow it to be a really useful and valuable tool for the water department going forward.
One question. I'm not even sure if I have this question formulated properly in my mind, but I guess while we're doing this, I'm asking, would any of our wastewater pump stations be entered into the system in any way, shape, or form?
Not into this one,
Okay.
but there is a way to do hydraulic modeling for wastewater systems as well through a different software.
That's just for an information factor, just to know what's there.
You could do the same kind of things.
Yeah, the similar GIS-based system to look at capacity in your collection system. So we would, not getting too far into the
Right,
weeds.
we're
you
too
would be able
early
to
yet.
do
Yeah.
similar analyses, look at your wastewater pump stations,
Right.
determine, if the system can be reconfigured, do we need all the pump stations we have?
Oh, okay.
Do we have
All right.
enough capacity here? The sewer capacity obviously is often a big consideration when you have developments in town,
Yeah.
especially on the outskirts, or you have a small pump station. You want to know, we've got 35 houses going in here, that's going to overload this pump station, so they need to replace that or upgrade it to handle the additional flow. So they're both, again, similar planning tools to look at expansion development.
So in about
capacity.
20 years, we'll be okay. Right now, we only have 350 customers, so.
Yeah.
There you go.
You could build it out and plan it using a model.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was
That would
wondering,
be-
why wouldn't the select board utilize these kind of services as they're creating it
Yeah.
Right.
and put
Yeah,
it into
'cause
place?
That would be really smart.
Look at
Yeah.
your targeted growth areas.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board? Judith?
I'm just curious, and you've probably spoken about this, Jason, how often does the LiDAR information get updated? And we don't, that's USGS, or who does the LiDAR? It's a federal,
The GPS?
The elevation.
the
Yeah.
elevation.
Oh,
That's a
yeah.
technical question, I don't know the
I
answer
believe
to.
it's at the state
At the
level,
state
and the
level?
state updates that periodically. I mean,
Like
as
every
now you
year
can
or
zoom in
every
on
2
Google
years?
Earth and
Yeah.
see someone waving to you from their pool, right?
Yeah.
So, the criticality of the elevations is in the analysis. As you get into your higher elevations, your pressure drops.
Right.
Because you have a relatively static elevation of your tank. So at your higher elevations, you're expecting lower pressure than at your lower elevations. So that's just an example of where that elevation information becomes important in the model.
And I would guess that it doesn't change much over the years.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't,
But
right?
I think what Lauren was speaking to in terms of accuracy is you might have been plus or minus several feet back in
Right.
the day, where now you should be plus or minus less than a foot.
Right.
So the accuracy level in the LiDAR data is significantly greater than the capabilities that existed in general just 20 years ago in terms of pinpointing elevation on a broad scale. Obviously, an instrument survey at the local level is still very accurate, but we're just trying to get a broad brush of the entire town so that we can update elevation information in the model.
Yeah, when it comes to maintaining the model itself going forward, of course, you want to look at it less than 20 years from now. So typically we'll recommend like every 3 to 5 years, do a refresh. We'll update the model with any capital improvements projects that have been done. We can kind of do that like as they happen too, but it's good every 3 to 5 years to kind of just do a brief recalibration, not to this magnitude, but just to make sure that things are still accurate and it's still a useful tool for you. And, right, so like, at that point, we might look at the elevations in LiDAR and reassign them, and we would update demands. If demands have changed substantially, we would redo that, things like that.
How many years has it been since we've last updated as far as the system goes?
This year,
22.
Yeah.
was it 2002?
2002 is the last model,
2002.
yeah,
And this is sort of the base of all of your other projects that come off of this.
right.
Yeah,
So-
a lot of stuff has happened, so,
Yeah.
since 2002, we're in 2025.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, so we want to get all those updates reflected in pipe size, pipe type, valving, hydrants, and make sure we've got that correct information.
Yeah, the first step in a project like this is definitely a very long request for information to Jason. And he's gonna have to dive into the depths and find all our information we need.
So we have a very well-written proposal. Pretty much everything was covered by Lauren in the slide deck. And we truly, it is fascinating. If we had nothing else to do, I'd be happy to talk about this all day, just so you know.
We'll have someone from the team
So-
come give you a live demo and.
Yeah.
Then it gets real technical.
Yeah.
So, are there any further questions from the board?
Just on a practical level, is this something that we, you know, if we have this and work with the project manager, that every year we could schedule them to come in, I don't know, 6 weeks before we're doing our capital plan review,
Yes.
before town meeting, if there needs to be some
Absolutely.
big ask.
And
Then we have
something,
data,
Yes.
right,
you know.
yeah, like little things, we can run them for you anytime. Like if you have a question about if we did this, what would happen? Usually pretty easy to do. If it's something that takes a little bit more effort, just something to think about is having like a general services for hydraulic model support on a time and materials basis. So that way, anytime you need anything, you just ask us and we run the model for you. The model is your property, it belongs to you. We tend to run it for you just because it is such an advanced tool.
Right.
But anytime you want that model, it's yours.
I think we should have Noreen take a training.
I would love to. I would love to. Okay, so, if there are no further questions from the board, we have a proposal for $77,000. We have to work out $77,500. I have to work out turning that into a contract approach. I've been told, Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, that we can find funds for this spread over this year and next fiscal year.
Yes, that's correct.
Is that correct? So with that said, I would take a motion to approve the proposal for $77,500.
Come on.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye. It's been a long time,
What, dear? Yeah.
yeah.
So my question then to both of you would be timing. Unfortunately, this came in right after our last meeting, so we had a little delay there. So this proposal needs to be turned into a contract. And is the best way for it to go to our legal first with our contract, or it seems to take us a long time to get contracts through, so I hate to lose a lot of time here.
Sure. What I could offer, if it's helpful, we also have a standard letter agreement, which would look similar to that, and we have standard terms and conditions that we could attach to that and send it through Jason to you
And we have the same thing. Therein lies the problem. Do we give you ours, or do you give us theirs?
In either event, I think there might be just some questions from the contracts folks in terms of a term or condition or two that may be worthy of discussion. That's what we typically would see.
Maybe give them ours.
So I'm not clear. How are we proceeding?
I will send you ours.
Okay?
And then if you can put that into your terms,
Yep.
and then I will send you that, so you have all of that, and then if you can put it all together, send it back to me. I'll send it to legal, and we'll get it done. How about that?
Okay. So we've just voted to approve the proposal. What we could do as a board is, we have town meeting coming up. Our meeting schedule's going to be a little bit erratic for a while. What we could do is come in and sign when it's properly through or we could sign by DocuSign or something like that. We don't necessarily have to wait I hate to lose all that time since we've lost a month.
Well, and what we would offer is, again, thank you very much. We appreciate, the opportunity and the approval. We'll get the ball rolling with at least the data request, so we can get that list together and start the ball rolling while the paperwork gets done. at the
Okay,
same
good.
time.
And
So-
you heard us vote to approve
Yep,
the
yep,
proposal,
agreed.
so that's kind of and it's really exciting.
Yeah.
Really?
So-
I love it. Moving on, mothers.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Now, where
Thank
did you
you.
go to high school?
Danvers High.
Oh,
Yeah.
Fenwick.
Okay, yeah. I had some friends that went there. I was in the marching band. I led the marching band. I don't know if you can tell from my energy.
I was on the debate team.
Leader of the marching band. Yeah, sure was.
Nobody here is surprised. Well, thank you. I'd like to
Thank you so much.
talk, but
Pleasure
we're
meeting you
throwing
all.
out.
Appreciate your time.
Really nice to meet you, and
You
great,
too.
fabulous presentation, and
Thank
The
you.
a
TV
really
works great.
well-written
Yeah.
proposal.
It did.
Great, thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, so,
And don't miss any drips.
Never.
It's all about the flow.
That's right.
Yes.
so we're gonna move around a little bit. I don't wanna keep Cindy Williams waiting too long.
We're going back to,
Well, no, while we're here, let's, so, while we're here, if anybody has any questions on the consumer confidence report, Jason would be the respondent.
I'm good with it.
Yeah.
So that will be on our websites and published in the paper, correct?
Any problems with that should be his headache.
Pardon me, dear?
He said any problem with the consumer report should be his headache.
I'm still not getting the word, but that's all right.
Said any problem with the consumer report
It's
should be Jason's.
Jason's.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Well said.
Yeah.
No, it looks fine.
Okay, so I would like to go back up, since we have Cindy waiting. So let us move up to old business A.
Should we get roll call?
Yeah, which will be the planning discussion for
Route 28.
Good morning.
Hi Cindy, it's Noreen from the Water Department. How are you?
Okay, thank you for being able to do it this way.
No, we changed our agenda around a little bit, so I hope we didn't keep you waiting too long.
It's okay.
No problem. So, I know Jason has some material to end, I do.
Great.
So I'm just going to start off with the information that I put in the packet. So at the front of your packet, you'll see several pages to do with this. And just to remind the board of the basic facts that are on the fact sheet. The project, go ahead, dear. No?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay. So the project was approved in May of 2023. It was approved for $17,500,000. Since then, the estimates have been coming in much lower. Could possibly be as low as 11 million, or it may be higher with all the contingencies and with the uncomfortable bid period that we're having right now in the country. But nevertheless, we have the authorization up to 17.5 anyway, so we're covered. The project is divided into 2 phases, and there'll be no construction during the summer months. Phase 2 is what we call the east portion, and naturally, Phase 2 starts ahead of Phase 1. Phase 2 will cover from the Herring River Bridge to South Street, which is approximately 2 miles, 1.9 to be exact. The water line's on the south side of the road. The bidding is planned for next month, with a hopeful construction start of September of 2025. The details for Phase 1, I'll say briefly, but we have a little more time with that. They will be from the Herring River west to Division Street, about a half a mile. This is the complicated side of the project because it involves 3 agencies. It involves the water department, it involves the town in terms of the dry sewer pipe, it involves the Department of Transportation in terms of sidewalks, bike lanes, and paving. The Department of Transportation is the lead in that end of the project. They'll actually do the bidding. Again, the water line's on the south side of the road, but in that section, with 3 different things going on, pretty much that whole road will be torn up. The bidding for that is not planned till next September, so we have a little more time. And then construction would start in March, and that would be on the sewer line first. So that's just general facts for people to be able to refer to. So, the thing right in front of us is the bid going out in May for the east portion of this project. Once we have the bid back in, so figure early June, figure a 3-week bid period if it goes out middle or late May. Once we have that back, then whoever the selected bidder is will tell us where they want the project to begin. Do they want it to begin at the bridge, or do they want it to begin at South Street? And then, of course, our plans, will really be able to formulate from that point on. They'll also then have information for us about detour planning, traffic planning, water access. Well, Jason would have that for us now, but nevertheless. So our dilemma right this minute is that we have town meeting coming up on May 5th. But right now, we only have the very general information. We don't have the other information we're going to get as a result of the bids. So nevertheless, do we use the opportunity of town meeting to put some kind of a flyer out to the people just to give them a heads up that this is coming, where it's going to involve not just the people on the street, but everybody who travels Route 28. And I mean, I think we should take every opportunity we can to get people's antenna up. You agree, Cindy?
I do, and the other thing too, I think I know somewhere in the packet you had that you do meetings late in August. I almost wonder if we don't do it sooner, like maybe even though the bid hasn't come back yet, just to get, because late in August, these businesses are all going to be in the height of the season. They're not going to be able to come out for a meeting. Even if we just say, hey, this is a heads up, this is what's going to happen, so that they know ahead of time.
So you're
I
saying,
don't
meetings, when was it? I didn't quite hear.
So, if the bid comes back in June, we're getting into the season. I'm just concerned that the businesses that will be affected won't be able to come to a meeting.
Right.
So I almost wonder if we don't do a meeting in May, just as throw it out there that just so you all know, this is what's going to happen. We want you to know ahead of time. We will be doing meetings in late August
Yeah.
if you can attend.
You
So I
know,
think if you
we're gonna hear from everybody on the board, so, we will get to that. But first of all, I'd kinda like to settle the town meeting question, because that's gonna hit us first.
right.
So the first question is, do we do something at town meeting?
Yeah.
And, you know, I have written to Emily, our town clerk, who has given me advice, and of course, anything we do at town meeting has to ultimately be okayed by Mike Ford, the moderator. But I think there's a very good chance that we may be able to have some materials to be given out at the sign-in desk at town meeting, rather than have to use chair. Everybody hates chairs, they fall on the floor.
Right.
Or rather than, now, I can't remember, even though I've signed into countless town meetings, do they sometimes have materials at those desks? I think they do.
They do.
Not there. What everyone does is line up outside of town meeting, and they hand out whatever they're handing out.
Right.
I know I've been there with a magazine. There's been other
Right.
people that hand out flyers of what's going to happen. Normally, that's where everyone does it. So that
Right.
is where I would say you can hand it out.
Well, that's one possibility, but as you say, with the magazine and other things, I look at this a little bit differently, because this is a town project.
Right.
You know, when things are put out by HCT or somebody else, they're a quasi-third party. So what I'm saying is, I think I can get permission for them to be given out right at the desks.
We need to do that.
Right at the desks as you
We
sign
need to
in.
do that.
So,
We need to-
so
Just
when
a
you
minute,
sign
Cindy.
in and they give you the warrant,
What, dear?
when they sign in and give you the warrant, you're thinking that you can have something there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, as long as we get the information out,
Right.
this will be the first batch of getting it out.
Well, just so you'll know, we had to go through conservation, and unfortunately, they sent out a notice to abutters, so there has been kind of a notice that went out, but that's beside the point. But, okay, so I'm talking to Alan for a second.
We need to talk to the moderator
Yeah,
up front. He's the guy that says, okay, hand
That's
it out
right.
to check-in.
yeah,
So we need to do that
Right.
and have a copy of
Right.
what we're handing
Okay.
out. That needs to happen.
yeah. So, assuming that I can get permission through the moderator and the town clerk to have it given out at the desks.
Just the moderator. I don't think the
Fine.
town clerk
Yep.
gives permission.
Okay. No, she doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
So
that's the
assuming
game-
I can do that,
That's the game plan.
that would be our first choice.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I don't have a visual for you, Cindy. What do you think? I just whipped this up last night.
Nice.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Yeah. Do you want me to text it to you, Cindy, or?
Oh, yeah, could you do that? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll take some, if everybody's happy with it, honest to God, I whipped this up in 5 minutes last night. I had other ones, but I don't like them as much. But I'm just trying
And
to,
once we get approval too from Mike Ford, if you want, I'll print out a bunch for here, and we can have them here for anyone that, comes through as
I
well.
don't have.
oh, good idea.
Noreen, do you have Cindy in your contacts, or?
You wanna send it out too?
I don't think I have Cindy in my contacts. Hang
What's
on.
your contact info, Cindy? What's your phone number?
508-615-0124.
And you can get a text there?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
This is the answer right here,
What, dear?
this one.
I can't hear you.
This is the one. To send it.
Oh, yeah, okay. I couldn't find a picture of people digging water lines. Every time I tried to put in like water and construction, it gave me people working on bridges.
That's about right, yeah.
Yeah, at least I got that.
Great.
I might want to change a couple of the words here, which is where it says details in the bottom, details retiming, traffic and water access, should that be, will be available in June or July, or will be
Definitely.
or coming out?
Yeah. Oh, available sounds
Available
great.
sounds better.
Did they come through, Cindy?
Yes, yep, I'm looking at it now.
And also,
That was good.
underneath that, where it says informational meetings will be held, I was wondering if community meetings sounded better. Or both, community informational meetings.
Community information meetings, yeah.
I think just community sounds better.
Mm.
We'll make it homey. All right, community meetings
We
will
want to
be,
make sure everybody is aware.
Yeah.
yeah, and this is just wake up, and now be ready info will be coming up.
You got it.
And of course, it has our phone number, as people will call, even though it's far away.
Maybe the website.
Maybe web address?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a test of the water department.
So the web address is what? I mean, that's the town. What do you mean by the web address?
We have our own
We have our
website.
own.
Yeah, but it goes through the town first, right?
No, we have our own.
Yeah, but,
Yeah, because it didn't go down.
It's www.harwich-water or
HarwichWater.com.
harwichwater.com, no dash.
somebody send it to me. Okay.
We can put additional information, additional information can be found at www.harwichwater.com.
That's good.
And then is there a general?
Write that
email?
out and send it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like an info out.
I don't want to get too busy. The whole point is catching their eye, because it's town meeting, they don't have time to read, but this will really tell them everything they need to know.
They'll probably read it.
Yeah, they'll tag the website.
I can't hear you both at once.
It says area from Herring River Bridge to South Street.
Yep.
You put Route 28.
Well, it says Route 28
I
up
know.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I have room constraints.
Maybe.
It's taken you all these years. I think it's
What
great.
do you think, Cindy?
No, it does say Route 28 right up top, so that's key, and it's in a different color and bold, so that's good.
How about where it says heads up Harwich travelers? What do you think about the word travelers?
I just think Harwich.
Oh, heads up Harwich, how's that?
Yeah, I would just do heads up Harwich.
We'll lose the travelers?
Yeah.
Or you could put small print, Dennis Yana Chapel.
No. Well, I'm shocked because I did this in, 32 seconds last night, but after a lot of thought, but if you're happy with this, we could actually print these right here. Or we can have them printed. Did Tracy get one?
Not yet, I can,
She's got an extra one I gave you to give Tracy.
thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah, she's. either way, we can either
I
have
said,
them,
let's just go with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I will update in my computer copy with this was, thank you for liking my first effort, folks. Any other artistic endeavors, we may need professional help, but this one I'll take.
This looks good.
I think it's great.
And I like things in white. I'm so sick of colored paper flyers. I like white.
Do we have a color printer? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it gets your attention.
Yeah. Well, white is now new, because everybody uses colors.
Yeah, yeah.
So we would need about 500 of these for town meeting, and probably, as Cindy mentioned, the chamber, we might as well do a bunch more while we're at it, because that would be to cover us for the first month, until after the bid.
We
So,
make a poster size thing for the chamber.
Cindy, could this go on your website as well?
I was gonna say, I wanna have it on the website, I wanna also put it in our newsletter, and as we continue the project, we'll have both available, so I'll have a special part on the website for it, so that people can click on it, and they'll always keep, so as everything changes and you guys are updated with things, I'll just need it so I can update it here, but absolutely.
Great.
and
Thanks.
that's a good point, Bob, you make me think, we should probably have them put it on the town website, right on the front page, like a week before town meeting.
And do they still, is it channel 18? Do the
Yeah.
scrolling of
Yeah.
announcements?
Yep, you can have it done landscape and send it over to Jamie, and she'll put it up on channel 18.
Why does it have to be landscape?
Because it goes.
Well,
That's how it's formatted on the TV.
Okay.
Whatever program she uses, it has to be in landscape when you send it over to her.
We can make a version that works.
And should we put Harwich water main replacement in there?
Is that
I
the
didn't
same
really see the
font?
point, where would you put it? Tell me where to put it.
Oh, no, I'm just saying,
25,
it,
maybe?
it
What
says,
It's
it's,
not clear.
it just says construction on here, and it only has Harwich at the bottom. That's, I was just saying, they know what it is, the
Harwich
water main replacement.
I
Yeah.
agree.
So,
That-
tell me what you're suggesting.
I would put it here.
The red. Route 28.
Harwich water
main
main
construction.
replacement, fall 25.
Oh, I see. I might put it under it. I want them to see that. I don't think we need to say Harwich. I'm limited on room. Water main replacement. All right, I want any more suggestions. I was trying to keep it simple. So next one can have more
If
suggestions.
you want, you can email me your thing and I'll edit it for you.
What do you mean?
You email me your document
Yeah.
from your computer and I'll edit it.
Why, how are you gonna edit it?
I think
have.
the artist needs to.
Okay.
Yeah, if you don't
I was
mind.
just trying to be helpful,
Yeah.
that's all. Trying to cut down on your
With
time.
the next one, you can be helpful.
Sure.
I like them simple. I don't like it when things get busy, because I know I take all of 5 seconds to read something, and that's what we like.
Picasso didn't need help.
That's right. That's right. You fresh guys, you. All right, so it sounds like we've agreed that we're going to do this process at town meeting. We will probably print about 800 of these to have a few hundred extras. I think it'll be a big town meeting between the school issues and the Great Sand Lakes issues, so I feel certain there'll be a large crowd. And that'll take care of that. So now, Cindy, I'm going to go back to your thought about the business people having a meeting in May, and I'd like to hear from the board, because I'm a little uncomfortable with that, because if we have a meeting before bid, there's not a lot we can tell them. But Jason, board, by all means, what do you think?
Well, as a business owner, even though that the bid's not accepted yet or you don't have it, you still want to be aware that it's coming. And so I think the more information out there, especially businesses affected on 28, they're going to want to know this.
Because we're doing the project.
Right.
I mean, the project is going
Right.
forward, so absolutely. And I say that just from knowing businesses in Orleans that didn't
Right.
feel that they had enough information in advance of some of their.
Okay, all right, so
Yeah.
let me just say that we will be doing a mailing. You know, we haven't quite determined when that will happen, and we'll be initiating things on the town webpage. I guess my hesitancy on a meeting is that until we have the bid, we don't know if they're gonna start at the bridge or at South Street. And that's, and that's 2 miles difference. So if I was Sativa, and my area wasn't gonna be done for 2 solid years,
Yeah.
I might rather wait 3 weeks and get that in, because once we have the bid, then we'll know. You know, whereas if we don't have the bid, it means that entire 2-mile stretch.
But at least they all know that the
Right.
bid is coming. So first of all, the construction is coming, and the bid will come and inform them what's gonna happen in 2 years. But because these are crazily, and they're gonna be very understaffed this year for federal reasons, they're not gonna have time to consume this information
They may not even look
starting
at
in
it.
June.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, we were gonna do we haven't talked about a mailing yet. You
No,
know.
but as a business owner, sometimes the mailings get, it depends how
I
it
know.
comes. They get set aside, or you don't pay attention to it.
Or-
You can have as good of outreach as you want. More the better, I think, a community meeting initially to bring them into part of the process.
Community or business?
What business?
Okay.
But it should be open to the community.
Yeah, anybody can
We should
come.
do some posting on 28 also, when we know when the project is gonna start.
Right. Oh,
Have
yeah,
that information on couple signs
yeah,
as you
right.
drive
Okay,
along.
we got a lot of territory here. Yeah, you're right.
Is it?
I'm just trying to go in order, you
Yeah.
know. I don't know what I would say to people if I had a meeting now of 200 people in front of me and my bid wasn't in. I mean, I'm not quite sure, you know, I mean, we could have Bob Drake, you know, it's a big deal. We got the community center, we got the outreach, we got advertising, and not a lot to tell them. How do you feel, Jason? Go ahead. Cindy.
Maureen, if I can just say, one of the things that we did when East Harwich was under construction with the wastewater, we had a meeting with those businesses up there so that they knew that it was coming and just a general overview of what was going to happen. And then we kept them updated. As Bob said, businesses want to know what's
Okay.
going to happen. They want to be a part of it.
Just
Yeah.
give them the scope of the
Yeah.
project.
I know.
We could,
Can I?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, I was gonna throw out an idea. I think you guys do monthly meetings or quarterly, Cindy? You have.
We do business after hours every month, and certainly, Maureen or whoever wants to come can absolutely, we get between 30 and 50 people,
And are those,
and to say,
are those open to the general public or any business
no.
or just members?
No, these members.
Oh, okay, so
But
then we should just,
what we could do is hold a meeting partner with you guys, and have it at the community center, use the multi-purpose room, and do an informative meeting. Invite the businesses so that they know we want you to be a part of this. We want to get ahead of it so that they feel that we do care that this is going to affect them.
Well, one thing I'll say is that a meeting of that nature, I think we would profit from their questions. You know what I mean? And we wouldn't have their questions. I'm sure there's a million things they're concerned about that I would never think of till I hear them ask those questions, so.
Is,
Good idea.
Yeah.
is there any way the meeting could be held on 28 somewhere?
I have our conference room, it can seat 12, but certainly we can do it a standing room in the whole chamber. I mean, I have plenty of room in here. There's no place else on 28 large enough, a facility that's like this.
We want to be able to record it too for people, so that's more important. All right, so let's say, for the sake of discussion, that we're going to have a meeting of the business people before the bid comes out. What kind of dates are we looking at?
You want to do before Memorial Day,
Yes.
so that's the 26th, because once Memorial Day is here,
Gotcha.
they're gonna,
They're
so
done.
Done.
that week, maybe that week right before, or because give it a week, you've got town meeting May 5th, everyone's gonna want a breather that next week, so I would do maybe the 20th or 21st of May.
Okay, that's the election.
Yeah,
Yeah, the 20th election.
That's true.
Unless we did a Thursday.
22nd.
I can't do the 22nd, I have a meeting.
Okay,
So maybe we do that week, maybe we do the May 15th then. That's definitely plenty of time, everyone's
okay. Why are you saying the 15th? That's a Thursday.
I was just, when you said Thursday, that's why I picked up
Oh,
the 15th.
no, I was just trying to get away from the election, that's all.
Oh, okay.
That week, I think, works good. As somebody that has a business, the week before Memorial Day, we're really busy planning.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
all right.
So it's not, you know how it is, Cindy.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna need a business meeting the week of May 11th, which means the first thing I have to do is check at the community center and see their availability, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
And that will tell me if every night was available. I assume we're talking about, what, 6:30, 6?
I would do 6 so that it can be a little earlier for the business people if they have to go back to their
Good.
businesses, any that are open.
We love early. And so if we had our choice that week, is there any choice? Monday night's never good.
I've got a lot of things that week, so I'm not sure if I'll be there.
Right. I mean, I'm looking now for the sake of the businesses. Are there any nights there that you can think, Cindy, that are better than others?
As Bob said, as we get closer to Memorial Day,
Right.
it's going to get busy for
So,
them.
no, we're talking about,
I would do Tuesday then, if we're
Yes.
thinking, all right, so I would do May 13th then, if we could.
all right, so that's first choice. And then we'll
Yep.
see what else they have that week for others.
Right. Yep.
Okay, all right. And, it doesn't have to be, I do feel, talking to Jason now, Cindy, I don't feel comfortable not having Bob Drake at any one of these things we have. Because questions can be asked, and what do you think, Jason?
We can get Bob there.
Yeah,
Yeah, we should be able to get Bob there.
Right.
They're aware of that.
and Ivan, or just Ivan?
It'd be Bob and Eric.
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 That's right, Ivan is phase 3. God help me.
And we'll go over a brief overview where we're at
Yeah.
with the project and
Right.
where it's heading, and
Right. You know, a question comes up now, and as we start to present this stuff to the town, one of the questions is on mailings and stuff like that, do we talk about the entire project, both sides, or do we talk about just the east first? Personally, I think we talk about the entire project, but we tone down the information on the west portion to try to keep it less confusing.
Can we decide this later after we set the meetings and stuff?
Yeah. It, actually, it'll be when we're doing mailings that will first come up, as a hard
Maybe
fact.
get Bob
The
Drake's
thing
input too.
I'm sorry?
Maybe get Bob Drake's input.
Yeah,
For me, anything we do on this stretch of 28, I think we have to make an awareness, especially because of the time, of what's happening all around.
yeah,
We're doing the whole thing. We need to have everybody be aware it's gonna happen, whether it happens early or later.
yeah,
But nobody should be excluded.
right.
Everybody's in.
Okay,
Uh,
all right, so we have a flyer system for town meeting. We have a business meeting set for the middle of the month. Now, there are other items on the page in your packet that are many different outreach suggestions. One thing I'll mention is that the next water department bill stuffer would have to be ready by the end of May to go in the July 1st mailing. So that being our own product is something, we shouldn't miss that opportunity. So that will be another little reminder we can do for that. I think that we, the department, needs to start developing a mailing list of every resident, business, everybody in that entire stretch, which we'll use in various ways over the next 3 years. Tracy, I don't know if you can get that from assessing or,
Or billing?
Yeah, we
You can get it from the town clerk for the businesses, because anyone that has a business certificate or has to renew it, so they have the list of the businesses.
right, Tracy just said we can get it from our own billing, right?
Yeah, from our data, we should be able to
Right.
extract all of that information, and we'll get the location of everything from Jason, and
Yeah.
then be able to,
And I'm sure in a list like that, it's probably gonna need some cleanup, because there's always weird little parcels that are in a, in a mailing log that, have to be addressed. So if you guys in the department could start to develop a mailing list. Now, when would we do our first general mailing? Would that be right after the bid? That's what I think.
Yeah,
I
and,
think we should do it after that.
and it can be, the info will be on the website too,
Right,
yeah.
yeah. So it seems to me, and I wrote, after bid, mail to parties, so that will, but obviously we'll have to start composing it with our engineer's help in late April, May, to be ready to roll. And along with the town webpage as well. I think ads in newspapers will come a little bit later. Statements at public comment, to me, they will come more, like late August. I don't mind going there and speaking every week. Jason has some maps that we'll talk about in a minute for the public, which we'll have to have maps everywhere. So, I think this looks like a pretty good layout for a first shot, for a first round. So to me, it seems like the first thing is, well, we'll get this flyer in shape. We'll start planning for the business meeting. I'll stay in touch with Cindy and the board. And also, we should start composing in our minds whatever the mailing is going to be to all parties, because that time will come up very quickly. The only other thing I wanted to talk about now then is about community or informational meetings. Does it seem like late August would be the time for those?
I would wait
Well,
till
now,
after
oh,
Labor
Labor
Day.
Day.
Yeah, because the project starts in September, right?
Well, we hope,
Possibly.
yeah. We'll know better after the bids.
If you can get to the second week of September, that would be best.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. If we can get it past Labor Day, that may be best for
Because
everybody.
it slows down really good right after, about 2 weeks after, the week after Labor Day, we get it well.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I'm also, this meeting, I'm talking about all the residents. So it's not just the slowing down and that. And September is fine, but a lot of these people, I've already been hearing from people, I go on vacation in September. My cat lady honest to God, my cat lady has to come in the house, how's she gonna get in, So, I don't think residents start leaving the area Labor Day, so I think early September is okay for them. At any rate, it sounds like you're recommending past Labor Day, so we can leave that as
To
a.
do a meeting, right?
These are for community meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah. The business one will be in mid-May, we have determined, the initial one anyway.
And maybe you could also, we could ask the school department when they do a mailing to the parents for the fall. They usually do mailing in August of any updates of whatever. We could include information in that packet because most of the kids don't take the buses anymore. They get driven to the schools. So that's a large population that should be aware that there may be disruptions, traffic disruptions.
Yeah.
And maybe we can put a sign in front of the police
Oh, we can
department.
put signs everywhere.
No, the blinking one,
Yep.
community meeting, September
right.
15th, whatever.
Okay, so, sounds pretty, well, let's move on to, this part sounds pretty good. I included in your packet my own hand-drawn maps, which there was some criticism of. So, Jason took it upon himself to get some professional maps. I'm having a little trouble with that. That's why when you said you wanted to edit something of mine, I was,
Oh, no, I meant to make the edits that you're
I know.
notating.
I'm teasing,
Because that kind of stuff I can do.
I know,
fast.
I can too.
Not to put any of my edits in, but to save you time.
So these were my maps, but Jason, I believe, has some material for us. These got me to the last 2 years, that's all I'll say.
Jason's blues look a lot better than yours.
He just finished his probation.
What does that mean?
He's safe now.
I can do it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, these are good, I like this.
Wow, this is cool.
Sorry, Cindy, we'll have to send you these.
This should be the sign.
Yeah,
We can
I was
send.
gonna say,
Oh, here,
What
I'll
it-
take
take a
once you
picture.
have
Yeah.
the maps approved, I'll put them in the newsletters that we send out
Oh, these
too,
are
so.
great. Look at these. You'll like these. Let's do this. How about that? Can you get this?
Yeah. Oh, I see it. They go, oh, wow, Jason, you did
This is-
go above and beyond.
Yeah.
No offense, Maureen.
All right, I'm writing down every word. You know, I take a lot of notes.
Like I
All right,
said.
it's coming,
nicer
Cindy,
blues.
hang on.
If you actually, you can text it so I can see it now, but if you
Yeah,
email
she's-
it, then I'll be able to put it in the newsletters.
Okay, she's doing,
So, and
can
didn't
you
you,
email her this, Jason? These files?
I can,
well, we'll be here all day.
yeah.
And didn't you have a 3-page?
These could be the signs.
That was on something that was on our water.
Oh, restrictions, okay, I got you, okay. So, okay, folks, so it sounds like, you know, I was gonna suggest we not have a meeting in 2 weeks, but now that I look at all the work we have to decide on, I'm afraid we will have to. But that's all right. So at our next meeting, we'll make final plans for distribution of the flyers. I'll confirm everything for town meeting. And I will confirm, and I will be talking to Cindy in the meantime, anything to do with the May meeting, and I'll let you know as soon as I have an opening, Jason, so you can talk to Bob Drake and those people. And we'll try to keep that meeting short. And also, it's not too early to try to have a draft of our first mailing, just a draft. I'm not quite sure how we'll work on that, but we will start. Any other comments from the board?
No, this looks good.
Yours looked good too.
I thank you, dear. Thank you.
Did it come through, Cindy?
Yes, it did. Looks very nice.
Okay. All right, folks, another topic we could probably talk about all day, but I'd rather not.
This is good. I'm gonna keep these.
Yeah. And eventually we'll have them in the lobby and we'll have them
Yeah.
everywhere.
I'd like to get one up.
All right. Thank you, Cindy. We're gonna sign off and move on to business. You're welcome to stay if you like.
Nope, that's good. I'm gonna continue on here and hopefully get some stuff done before I have to, not feel as bad as I do.
Okay.
Thank
And
you.
I'll be back and forth in touch with
Anything
you.
else?
And I'll be back and
If you
forth.
need anything else,
Okay.
perfect.
All right, great.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Cindy. So next, let's drop quickly under new business. The select board increased the salaries of all of the workers.
Oh, so they took our recommendation or what?
No, hang on. No, this was to do with COLA.
What page?
Oh.
This is for all of the employees in the entire town.
Okay.
They, I'm not sure, back, no, the other way. Yeah. So at any rate, it changed the numbers. We had taken, about 6 different number votes last meeting, and it slightly increased the salaries of the employees. The COLA, I believe, went from 2% to 4%, which makes a lot more sense, because 2% is madness. And, where are you, honey? Okay, yeah, keep going, you're almost there.
All right.
Keep going.
The thing is that, gotta be right there.
Is that 46? Yeah, okay. So, with that said, I would ask for somebody to reconsider our vote of March 14th to approve the water budget.
I'll move.
Second.
Give me 1 second here. All in favor?
Aye.
So that's 5-0. So these are the new numbers, and we would need a motion to approve the new water budget.
I'll move.
And that would be in the amount of $4,968,049.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Put John in for
There you
one.
go.
He's a little late, but, all in favor? Now, we just have to do the same thing with the wastewater budget, so we would need to reconsider our vote of May 14th.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
question,
yes, sir.
on the elected official salary, the 23 is 5,000.
I don't know where Alan is. Can
Yeah.
somebody help me?
Under the first
Water department
salaries
budget.
and wages,
Oh, yes.
so 25, it says elected officials 2,500.
It says, under budget for FY '25, we're doing budget for FY '26.
Oh, yeah, it says 2,500 for elected officials.
Right,
Should it be 5,000?
no, because they put half in water and
Oh,
half
they
in
split
wastewater.
the-
Ah,
Oh, right,
so
okay.
we're cheating the job.
Yeah.
I thought we'd get asked for a raise.
You know what, Alan, you know what we do? We put Judith and Bob in wastewater, and we put you in water, because we know you don't want anything to do with wastewater. And I'm the split, I'm in the middle. You and John are in water.
You're gonna vote the times.
But we knew you wouldn't like wastewater, so we don't really. Any other questions
Oh, that's okay.
for your fresh chair?
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's cool.
folks.
Got it.
All right, so we're reconsidering the wastewater vote of May 14th. And Alan, I believe, was a motion. I need a second.
Second.
Bob, all in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, 5-0. And now we want to vote the new wastewater department budget in the amount of $708,825. And I need a motion.
So,
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Okay, we got if they don't change anything again, then we're finally done again for town meeting.
keep up the good work.
Okay, I'll try. Now that you know you're only working for water, I realize you're pretty happy.
Cheap labor.
Yeah. All right, so now we're moving down to water restrictions. Now, I put all kinds of really good information in your packet. But I will let Jason take over for our discussion of water restrictions.
So, as you know, we are in a, well, I don't know if you know,
I don't know.
level 2,
Still, yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Did you see this page? This will help you.
No, I heard it on the news.
No, but I'm saying if you look at this while we're talking, it will help you.
So this, yes, yep.
Yeah, this is where you should be.
Oh, yeah.
It's a copy of our Water Management Act, basically what is in our Water Management Act right now. And we had to stop monitoring this in March. So today, to date, we are below on the Brewster well that we're monitoring. And we have been we're gonna be that way for a total of 90 days. So we are going to have to go into per our Water Management Act, we're gonna have to go into a water restriction.
Can I throw in a couple of things?
Yep.
So as Jason said, this is our new water management permit trigger page. The biggest difference from our point of view is that the state now will require us to go to 2 days a week for restrictions rather than our old traditional 3 days. But what this very nice chart tells you is that on the average readings, these were our actual average readings in March and in April. These, the state trigger level, you'll see from above, the 3151 and the 3108, and if you're over that, you're in trouble. So as you can see, we are over that consistently, about a foot each month. And just so you'll know, in terms of last year's things, we are 1 3/4 feet to the bad. Last year, we were 1 3/4 foot higher, so we're very, very low. Also, we're on the state drought level, we're at level 2, and it starts at 0, so we're midway, we're where we are sometimes in September. We're in critical shape, and we're gonna stay that way most likely all summer.
And you know, people are gonna say it's been raining so much, what
I
do you
know,
mean?
I know.
And
Yeah.
just, we're
Yeah.
low, huh?
Well, this is it.
It runs off.
And we have, so we have to go to 2 days a week. If we put them in by May 1st, then we can leave that there unless things got more critical. And we are in mandatory. We sailed right beyond voluntary.
Oh,
So,
Yeah,
so
so do we
Do we just
move for this?
Choose 2 days?
what, dear?
Do we just choose 2 days?
Do we choose 2 days?
Yes.
Well, we do, but, and jump in, Jason, when we picked specific days a couple of years ago, it was my idea, it was a bad idea. Dan also agreed. It was when we told them certain days, and it caused too much of a draw on the system. So, also, in our bylaws, it refers to even and odd days. So Jason and I were talking, one thing we could possibly do would be to say, for even numbered, I'm just saying these days, I'm not suggesting them, for even numbered houses, you have Tuesday and Saturday. For odd numbered houses, you have Wednesday and Sunday, or something like that, you know, to spread it out a little more.
Do you know if we have approximately an even amount of odd number and even number houses, addresses?
Doesn't matter,
Doesn't-
really.
Yeah, it wouldn't
It
matter.
wouldn't matter that much on the draw,
No.
so let's just do it.
So,
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
well, we have to.
Motion.
I mean, by law, we have
Because I don't
to.
think we need to discuss this.
There's no discussion?
it is what it
It
is.
is what it is.
Well, we need the wording for the yards, and we
Yeah.
need things like that, you know.
Well, let's put it together and put a jump on it.
I was
So-
waiting till superintendent's report, but I'm gonna send. I
Yeah,
wrote
please do,
something out.
let's cover this topic, yeah.
There you go.
God, it seems like it's been wet all winter.
It does, I mean,
It's just a draft, that is a draft, I just put something on paper and that is,
I was reading an article, it's got something to do with the snow. The snow, with
Yeah.
more snow.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it takes longer to go in the,
Yeah,
Look at this
all
compared to
this
last
rain
year.
runs right off into the ocean.
Last year's the brown line, this is us,
Yeah.
Wow.
and
So-
that's April, can you believe it?
yeah, I just wanted to show everybody on here that that was last year's compared to this year.
Yeah, it's awful.
In order for us to withdraw this water restriction, the level has to stay above this trigger point for 30 days. Once it stays above that trigger point for 30 days, then it has to go below it, and it has to stay above it for 30 consecutive days. Once it goes below it, we have 90 days to watch it.
Yeah, we're not gonna get the, yeah.
So, just so you know where we are and how we lift this.
It's gonna be I would take the bet that we won't be lifting anything.
Yeah, so I'm,
Because it also means the state map has to go back to normal, and we're
Huh.
several,
Most of the states. back
Pardon
in-
me?
Yeah, most of the states, they had a whole thing on, I think NPR, deriving from Western Mass, and then they talked about Cape Cod as a special,
yeah.
yeah.
The new state map came out 2 days ago, and the rest of the state, other than the North Shore, went back to mild, but we stayed at significant, which is bad.
Let's do it.
All right, so you see the language in your packet from last year. So, what's our language gonna say? And I'll ask for Tracy's input on this as well, because she's designed an awful lot of, messages over the years. So, this, for instance, was last year's. Well, we're not voluntary, we're mandatory.
Yeah, I love that visual too, like save water. Did you guys make that?
I found it.
Nice.
So, I'm looking at this one, Tracy, so you see it?
Yeah, yeah. I have to find it, but I know what one you're talking about.
Now, another question is, do we have to give them a weekend day? And we've had complaints both ways, so we never satisfy everyone. Some people said, you know, they like a weekend to do their stuff,
Yeah, they do need probably one weekend.
One weekend.
and then,
Well, yeah,
So this page goes on, where does this go?
Tracy?
We usually run an ad in the Chronicle for a couple weeks in a row.
Shouldn't we mention more what the state requires, that we're in significant drought?
Yeah, you should.
To me, it seems like it needs to be toughened up a little bit.
Well, this was voluntary, yeah, we gotta whack
okay.
it. So Wednesday and Sunday. The other thing I think we should change now is we always said before 8 AM and after 5. I'd feel better moving that to going before 9 AM because those are the state regulations and just to get a little more consistency.
on the bottom here that I wrote out
Yeah.
was what the state, it goes right from our permit
Oh, let's do that.
on here.
Do it.
Yeah,
So on the bottom here, we
right.
could almost put that right on too.
And if complaints come in, just send them directly to.
So
DEP.
exactly what do you, all right, so you're not talking about what they can do yet? I don't know what you're saying.
Well, you were asking about,
Yeah, okay.
He
Yeah.
has a pretty good description in here. Tuesdays and Saturdays, even
Yeah,
Wednesdays
okay,
and
get that,
Sundays.
I'm moving on. Mandatory. Mandatory.
I would just put this logo on this and go. Yeah. This should be a press release too, right?
All right, so, I think we have to drop that. They've changed the, on the bottom, Tracy, where it says drought action level. The state has changed the wording, so I would say just drop that line.
Why do we need this then? Why don't we just do this?
All right, just tell me what you want.
Well, I'm just suggesting, because this sounds tougher, I mean, you could put this logo on it if you want, but this really spells it out instead of.
So you want from the top to the bottom? I'm
Yeah.
just trying to figure out what you want.
What are you trying to do, Noreen? What are you?
She was trying to correct this.
To
Yeah,
make a public
To
flyer?
make,
no, not a flyer. What goes on our website, what goes in the newspapers, what goes on all of
this is
the...
what should go on the website and the newspapers,
Yeah.
it explains everything.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Why don't you just have them incorporate that into, with some of.
We also have to talk about what they can do, you know, like, and what they can't do.
It says this.
Where? I'm not finding. Where?
Right here.
Somebody read it to me, I'm not.
The following restrictions are implemented. Non-essential outdoor water use is allowed no more than
Okay.
2 days. Watering by sprinkler irrigation is allowed on one customer assigned day only.
All right, I didn't see it, I see it now.
Even
Yeah.
addresses.
And non-essential, what does that have a specific?
Non-essential outdoor water use is allowed no
Okay,
more than
hang
2
on,
days.
hang on.
No, but I mean, is non-essential, do we need a definition of what non-essential is?
Outdoor showers, I don't know.
I don't know. but
I don't either.
I can just see somebody saying, well, my grass needs to be greener than, you know.
Well, they're gonna say that. What is non-essential, Jason?
There's a description in here. So here you go. Yep.
Car washing, yeah.
Non-essential is irrigation, well, irrigation is subject to restrictions, but we can limit it. Swimming pools, washing vehicles, hard surfaces.
Okay.
Hand watering is always allowed, but they like it before 9 and after 5.
Better for your plants, too.
All right. They've all completely confused me. What are we doing?
Well, he's got,
He's got it down.
All right, everything right here is
We can condense a version of the water with,
You know,
That's
I actually
all on
think
here.
this is antiquated, because even this paragraph doesn't,
this I just drew up with our new permit
I
in mind.
understand.
So
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
we go with that.
Then put the emblem right here, the water.
Yeah, if you need to.
Right there.
save water at the top. Pretty.
Do we need a motion for that?
Well, just a minute. I mean, notices also go on our bills. Help me out, Tracy. You know, they go a lot of places where this all won't fit, so I'm just trying to get it
Go
straight.
into the paper, they go into Channel 8,
Right.
and that is usually all I can think of. They'll
Yeah.
go on our website.
Yeah, okay.
And the bill mailings, or no?
No, no.
But they're on the bill, right?
They'll bill, our spring bill's already been mailed, the
Right.
next bill won't go out until July.
That's right, yeah. Okay, so, this is lovely, but if I was to get this, I wouldn't know, I mean, I wouldn't read all this. That's just me. Is there any way to pump up, like the Tuesdays and the Saturdays more, or the 2 days to bold that part more?
Do you want, I could work on a flyer and send that to you in a couple of days using this info.
I put the top on here like that, so people, like you said, why are we doing this? Because it's been raining all the time, and
Yeah.
this is sort of a reason why. The bottom, yes, I agree, that to almost make that a little bit more bolder so it sticks out.
Or in a
when-
table or something?
Yeah, when can I water?
Yeah,
When
right.
can I?
Usually the staff puts the notices
Yeah,
together.
we can build it and get it out the door.
I mean, I know
We have
you're
everything we
offering,
need
but,
to handle that.
Great.
yeah.
We've been doing it for years.
All right, so we basically know what we're doing. The staff will work on a notice for the various places it goes. So that with the arrangements made, then we have to officially vote
Second,
to initiate mandatory water restrictions effective May 1st, with irrigation allowed only 2 days a week as specified, before 9 and after 5, and hand watering allowed during those hours, but any day. Mandatory. And just for discussion, oh, did we vote? We didn't vote. Well, what was that? 1 for Alan? 2 for Judith. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, 5-0. I have one other thought, it's... Oh, and just to put it on the record, because Bob wasn't here, 3 years ago, when we had a very dry summer, Bob, we did go through the process of reporting people, sending out tickets, sending out warnings, going to district court, and we were the only town that did it in the whole area. Everybody else was on restrictions and they didn't do anything. And we learned that it truly was not a worthwhile effort. For one thing, it completely dominated the staff's time. I mean, amazingly so.
And I would disagree that it was completely,
I just don't want to lose my train of thought.
I know, but I don't want him to think that we were in agreement that it was.
Okay, all right. But one of the big problems was that we had multiple abusers, and they would get like a $200 fine every day, and they would say they didn't care. And then when we took them to district court, inevitably the judge would decrease it. So you'd go in with a $2,400 bill, and he'd say, okay, 200. You know, over and over and over and over and over and over again. So we have pretty much agreed that we don't want to, what are you saying?
I don't think we agreed that, did we?
What?
I don't think we agreed on how we were gonna do it.
Okay, well, let's discuss it then, that's what we're here for. But the last 2 years, at any rate, we only needed voluntary. So mandatory had not come up since then. So I will say that the last few years, we agreed on our voluntary methods. So it sounds like you have something to say, Judith.
No, I think we need to work on the enforcement piece somehow. And not make it a burden for the department, but make it a burden for the town somehow.
I don't,
It
How
costs
do you
money
do
and
that?
time. Well, I don't know, maybe, I don't know.
Well,
But I
I
don't think we
So
should just let it go, because
Yeah.
otherwise,
since I wasn't here, can I ask a couple of questions?
only before not till I give you a piece of information,
Okay.
which is in our bylaws, by discretion, we still have the right to fine anybody at any time. So if we see somebody either minor or egregious or something like that, the first fine is 100, the second fine is 300. The other problem with 3 years ago was our bylaws, our fines were only $50. So that was another problem. Since then, we went and we upgraded the bylaws to 100, 300. So we certainly can fine if you want to.
Okay, but then the fines are being appealed to,
Yeah,
and
like
then getting struck down?
by the court.
because it was a voluntary time.
Okay. I don't know how I feel
No,
about
the
it.
court was striking them down during the mandatory 3 years ago.
It was mandatory during that time, yeah,
You know,
It was costing us money.
right.
it was costing you money to go for enforcement?
Yeah, for
Plus
everything.
time.
Plus time.
You know, I remember when
Yeah.
the mask thing happened and they had the hotline to the health department and stuff, and we were getting turned in all the time. You know, there's no defense of that.
Right.
Other than, here at least you can verify through the meter.
Right.
But
No,
I don't know.
you can't
I wanna-
verify through the
do we-
meters.
You can't if they're overusing, right?
You can't verify through the meter that they used at a certain time.
No, but I mean, if they overused, wouldn't you be
No.
able to? No?
No,
No, there
because
was-
every house is so different. You have 4 in your house, I have 1 in mine, you can't.
So how do you prove this in
They
court?
were ratting each other out.
Yeah, we went out and took pictures.
Do we get little badges and run around with cameras?
Oh,
Yeah,
it's just
they
a
do.
No, I
routine.
mean, most of the people that were abusing it were on automated systems,
Irrigation.
irrigation
Yeah.
systems. So it was quite easy to go out and take pictures. And it was a significant amount of water.
But it kept getting decreased by the judge.
Well, I don't want to mimic what's going on. I mean, I think we do need to take a stand, or we need to say to the state, you need to help us with this enforcement financially somehow. I don't know, but
I really think our biggest problem was staff time, not
Correct,
just the money.
absolutely. Well, that's,
Jason, have you come across this before?
Yes.
And with enforcement?
Yes, I've talked to a number of towns around in the area, and some of them, the judges aren't even looking at them. Not unless you have a stack of them, and he's gonna bring them, and then he'll either throw them out, or he's gonna reduce them.
Could we put a jail cell in here?
They'll get the water police, they'll get shirts made up.
They have to
And a water board.
sit through a whole select board meeting or something as punishment.
So, warning notices, they work great. You're going out, if you see somebody, you're knocking on the door, you're giving them a notice here,
is it an emergency?
and I would take it on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, you can set it warnings, whatever
That's
you
pretty
like.
much how it's been going on,
Right.
yeah. Yeah. So,
We could send Patrick and Leo out for educational.
Well, we gave him a badge.
Yeah, I want a badge. And
But
uniforms.
yeah, yeah.
no, we can't send you out.
Nice.
First one that
I
comes
bet.
in front of you.
And tell them about Route 28 while you're there.
Yeah.
I have no tolerance for people that are, watering their lawns to be green
Well,
for this kind of thing. That's just,
the messaging though, even from the White House, is just getting high flow showers. They're not
That's
even
okay.
moving towards low flow.
Move your shower outside.
Well,
Yeah, well,
there comes a day when it's a choice between thirst and a shower.
yes.
you can do both, I guess.
Yeah, Benjamin Franklin said,
Well,
that nobody cares about water until the well runs dry.
that's for sure.
And
Well, we have the ability to ticket, to fine, to warn, to send letters, to put meter notes, to do whatever, we want. So as the summer goes along, will you ever let me finish a sentence? All right, now go ahead.
Go ahead, finish up.
I did.
Oh, one, we put a notice in the bill.
Of the penalties,
Yeah.
in advance.
we take your hose away.
That would be in July.
Can we confiscate things?
It's a lie.
It's a reminder.
I'm just letting you know, that would be in July.
Yeah, okay,
And-
hold on.
Yeah. And put the flashing thing in front of the
Yeah.
police and fire
Oh,
station.
we have to do that, and as a matter of fact, I'm glad you said that. Because also, what we need to do this summer, and Jason, by the way, you need to speak up more for yourself. He met with several other towns to find out the language they're using, things like that, to get us more uniform. And every town in your trustee packet, that's the front of my car there, all right?
You weren't driving when you took that, were you?
No, I was pulled over.
You're the one that stopped traffic on
But
137.
it is time we redesign our signs. They no longer go along with the state language. So it's nothing we need to do overnight, but during the course of the summer, we should. And he's talking with neighboring towns about what their signs are
Yeah.
gonna say, so we can be a little more uniform too.
Right.
That's cool.
Good
That's
idea.
another thing. See, I'm taking pictures for you guys when I'm on all the time.
Don't get hit.
You are rocking it, rocking it.
I gotta get you a vest, if you're out there, okay?
I got one. I'll give you one.
Goggles too,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah, all right.
And the Cape Cod Commission probably has a campaign about this as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, they're doing yeah.
Okay, we're almost
I know
at the
They're
end.
so collaborative about it.
But,
You gotta stop broken down into gallons, you know what I mean? Like,
All right.
I don't want a gallon per home, because then you could actually have a mathematical, logical, approach to consuming water. Because it's like, why does it matter if there's water 5,000 gallons on Tuesday only, when they could water 1,000 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they're watering the same amount, but you're stuffing them into one little
Right.
locks. It should be, hopefully they have be great if they had a gallonage amount, because then we could use our water meters to
Yeah, that'd
actually
be,
see.
I would love it if you
use
could
Yeah.
shut people up. There's a place like that, it was Oklahoma or someplace, a few years ago when they were like trading water between states, where if you hit a certain point, your water was shut right off. So you could use it, if you wanted to take long showers, great, if you wanted to do this,
Right.
but I love that idea.
California does that.
Yeah.
California does that.
Yeah.
They have a timer on their showers, don't they?
Well, low flow and stuff. There's certain-
Yeah.
You can't even go to Home Depot and buy certain products. Because they're not sold in California.
Okay, we're getting there. Last topic. What I put in for you, these are the water, wastewater requested articles, and one that we are kind of a stakeholder in. So this is our annual town meeting warrant. Obviously, we have the water and wastewater budget. We have our capital items. And then on the second page, third page here, you'll see a couple of financial articles from us. I also threw in the Great Sand Lakes article for you simply because we have a vested interest. We're stakeholders in that. And I will tell you that for the first night, for May 5th, Jason will be there to answer any questions on any of our articles. I was intending, but I want board input, to have Dan Pelletier there as well. My concern is if questions regarding our water quality come up that are in advance of Jason's 6 months here, then Dan is there to fill in any background. That's about it, really. I don't think you'll need to be there the second night, Jason, as I said. I'll take those two articles, we'll talk Monday night. I did ask, I sent a request to the select board asking that our department heads and consultants be allowed to stay in the main town meeting room, since there will more than likely be an overflow room. I don't want them to be booted to another room, so. I'll just say on the Great Sand Lakes article, my only viewpoint is that, my only comments on that article, or Jason's as well, would be if anybody questions the quality of our drinking water. Beyond that, as far as the project itself goes, I'm not gonna weigh in on that. It's just about drinking water. Yes?
And I wanted to ask you to resend me the Great Sand Lakes presentations, just the dates and the times in those.
The ones that we had in the fall?
Yeah, well, no, that were presented where it was a little questionable what the speaker was saying about our water quality.
Okay.
You could
Her
just send those,
presentation.
her presentation, just the dates and like where in the meeting, because I was gonna send a thank you to Andy from APCC for a presentation he did at another group of mine, and I just wanted to make him aware that APCC had been talked about in those presentations, and just direct him to those, so that maybe if he wanted to make a phone call in advance of town meeting to that presenter to clarify anything with her.
So that's not something I have readily. Did you say you have,
I think I have, you sent it in an email, I think it's down in that.
Oh,
I
good.
think I'll
Could
see
you
what I
fo-
have.
Yeah.
oh,
That would be
you
awesome.
mean just that meeting?
Just that presentation. I think I
Because
was,
they referenced APCC, correct?
I believe so. I didn't watch the whole thing,
Yeah.
or I watched a lot of it, but I remember, I think you did it down to the minute in the meeting.
All right. If you two can work
Yeah,
it out, go
I'll
ahead.
look for it.
And if not,
Can I ask though, are we discussing this for a minute? I don't want you to get mad at me, but I have a
no,
question.
all right, go ahead.
Okay, so the
I
Great
won't
Sand,
do that.
the Great Sand Lakes wastewater construction was tabled by Finance Committee and the Select Board, but now it goes to town meeting.
It's not true, what you just said.
Well, that's why I'm asking.
Oh, okay, no.
So it says here,
The select board voted to indefinitely postpone.
okay,
That's fine, they do that all the time. And the finance committee voted to approve.
So now it goes to town meeting?
Right.
And the town can override the select board and vote to approve?
It's not even override them, they just gave their votes. They very often vote against, there's many articles in here that they didn't vote to approve.
So, excuse me, but I'm not used to Massachusetts.
Yeah.
How you guys govern here.
It be-
We don't do town meetings, or I didn't anyway.
It bears no weight.
But it could be approved,
Yeah,
but there'd be no money attached to it?
no, there would be.
So, okay.
So the town meeting is supposed to have the final say on all of these articles. There are select board members that might argue that they can then make their own decisions, but,
So it could conceivably pass it, we're gonna spend $31 million.
Yeah, excuse me, these things where they vote against it, they're more information, like a lot of times you're gonna, well, you won't be there, so you won't see, but people will get up and say, gee, I see so-and-so voted no, could you tell me why? So it's like that kind of a thing. But no, and as far as the money goes, just to be accurate, the money gets attached in the ballot on May 20th.
and the
Oh,
whole town
Right.
votes.
okay. I thought that if you have a lot of people that already showed up just for this one issue, they could spend $31 million.
No.
If they vote at the ballot, they can.
Okay.
It has to pass both.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
would
so
think it's
the
unlikely that.
town meeting gets it on the ballot. The
Okay.
reason that this is a positive thing financially is because there's buckets of money that the state has. And this project can access, oh God, I wish I had taped Andy explaining this.
I can, what do you,
Yeah,
it's the
it's
thing
the-
called, the Water Protection Committee.
And the state
Okay, it's
revolving
the
fund.
Yeah.
eligible.
So that it would allow the town to take the low or no interest
Yeah.
rate, number one. And number two, they would get a rebate of 25%.
Well, they would be eligible for a rebate.
Okay.
Another board has to vote on that.
Okay, and then if we don't ask for it this year,
Right.
we go back on this list for the future, and number one, those budgets they will be smaller. And number two, the tradition, again, Massachusetts, is that if you don't ask for the money in a certain year, you're kind of put at the bottom of the preference list.
So that's important, okay.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do it, we're gonna have to expand at some point anyway and ask for funding.
I feel obligated to always say one thing on this, because remember, this is for the removal of phosphorus, not nitrogen. Phosphorus.
But it will also be removing nitrogen.
Not in a watershed. That's not in a watershed, so yes, it removes nitrogen, but it doesn't contribute to the TMDL factor, because it's not in a watershed.
Okay,
The Great Sand Lakes are not in a watershed.
okay.
And that would be a reason that would go against them, unfortunately, with the 25%. Because when that board votes on whether they get it or not, that's going to be a serious consideration.
So Andy, the president from APCC, when he did his presentation, he spoke about it being important for phosphorus and the nutrient load long-term.
Yeah.
He said it takes a long time, but it's still impactful. And it will be part of at least the states, and certainly the regional wastewater, I don't know what they're called now.
Okay. So that's our town meeting prep. So, next we have superintendent's report.
Route 28. basically a phase 2, Herring River to South Street update. We're waiting on the Conservation Commission to submit their
Order of conditions.
comments, on comments, so we can get those back, and they go to GHD, and we can submit to Mass DOT.
I noticed that they have you on the schedule again, Conservation does, for an order of conditions. I think it's the 16th, might be a week later. You guys, you should,
Well,
what are you saying?
That's fine, too.
Go ahead, Jason.
no, I'll be in contact with Amy and
Okay.
Bob on that. So that's Route 28 Phase 1, they're working on the contract, Mass DOT, they're looking at putting that out to bid in September, awarding that in November. So that's one of the things I heard, whether that transpires or
You're
not.
gonna have it out for 2 months?
They'll award, yeah, that's what they said.
Okay. And that's the one you'll give us guidance on how to go ahead with.
Yes.
But the engineering contract, when will that happen?
I'm working on that now with Bob.
Okay. And that will involve us and the town signing at the same time?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
The station number 10, that is ongoing, so that we're waiting to hear back from DEP on that,
About what?
about the land use there, so. It's-
Land use?
Yeah, so we submitted a report to DEP for them to approve for the well. We had it surveyed.
For the
so-
new well?
For the new well, yes,
Okay.
for the new well. I'm sorry, I refer to that as Station 10.
Okay, I will.
I
from now
shouldn't
on.
do that, I should actually do
Okay, no problem.
15.
You know, it confuses me when you say Station 10
I
when we
know.
have 14 wells, but, you
Well,
know, just me.
I'm just gonna do new well 15.
well.
That's what.
Yeah, 15. I like that better.
Vernal Pool has been all wired in, and it's into the SCADA system, and that is now collecting data from out there. So we did remote measuring off of the Vernal Pool. And the guys went out there and they laid all of the wire through the woods, all the way back into the pump station, and we're collecting all that data now.
Okay.
That'll all be going to DEP.
How often do you have to, every week, turn it in?
This is going monthly.
Well,
The hydraulic model, that I can take off my list here. I think you've heard enough about hydraulic modeling, right?
Yeah.
New vehicle, we got one new vehicle arrived. We're waiting on 2 more. We should have another one in a couple weeks, and then the heavy-duty one, those take a while to get in. The CCR was submitted, you saw that. The ASR, the annual statistical report, that was submitted, had to be submitted by March.
We'll put
Yeah,
that
Mark.
in the next
Yep.
meeting's packet.
Yep, so that you will all see that. Phase 3 construction, there are no real updates there. They're moving along at a good pace. They're doing some
Looks
good
like
work there.
39's pretty chewed up,
Yeah.
it's not bad.
no? They're not up near your house yet, are they?
No, not yet, they're past the post office.
Okay,
But, I mean, it's not that, it's going good.
yeah,
And I have a Bay Road update.
all good.
That is, we talked to the engineers, and they're trying to, they think they found a solution to Bay Road and where that comes out at Vicksburg. They're actually from 39, they're gonna run up Bay Road, and they're gonna take that manhole that's there. They think they have the elevation that's there, that they will be coming in lower. So they're gonna take the manhole that that we're having a little issues with there, move that manhole further up and continue the sewer main from 39 up Bay Road and they're gonna pick up a few of those services there.
I saw it all marked out.
Yeah, so that's gonna be, that'll take care of that issue that's at 39, that's at
Who's they?
Vicksburg, the Casey's.
No, that they are gonna do who's the company?
Robert Hour, Bobby Hour.
Why,
Yeah, I
I mean,
mean,
it was a mistake in engineering, wasn't it?
It was a mistake. We're in discussions, I can't say we are. The town is in discussions with, I do believe it's RJV that installed that there. And I don't know how they're gonna correct a certain portion of it. But in order for us to redirect that flow and get the correct pitch, it has to be brought up Bay Road. So that's how they're gonna, the solution that they found to the problem.
so the town's gonna work it through their contract somehow, and,
Whether it's a change order or however they're gonna do it, whether RJV gets involved, I don't know any of the
Yeah.
It's getting addressed.
financials, but yes, it's getting addressed, so.
Is it a long project or just like a couple of weeks?
Going up Bay Road, you really can't hook them over to that yet, heading towards 39, until that can go somewhere and a pump station is constructed, or it can go somewhere. So right now, it's status quo. And that's what I have for my.
okay, commissioners report. Alan? Judith?
No.
Bob?
No.
Nope.
I only have two quick things. One I neglected to read last meeting. These are just notes that come in from customers, good and bad, and I like to acknowledge them. So this one is actually, I don't think she'll mind my saying, from Joe McCarty, one of our library trustees. And she had an issue, and she called in to say the owner called to relay how friendly and efficient Mike Lewis was when changing out the meter, and how delightful and gracious Wellesley was when scheduling the meter change-out appointment. She said it was a nice start to her day, and to tell the boss thank you, and he is running a good show.
And I did remember something.
Yeah.
So, I was at this event and two elderly women, like elderly, right? Came up to me and said to please tell the staff at the Harwich Water Department that they were so excited to receive their bills because it was really, really, really easy for them to do it. They just learned how to text. They were so cute. And so they got it in email, and then they also got it
Oh
in
my
text,
goodness.
and they were able to pay it like within 5 minutes, and it
Wow.
made them feel really good. It was so simple, as opposed to going on the Harwich website's town payment
yeah.
thing. So they said to say thank you to all of you guys for all the good work you do. Yeah,
Great.
so, yeah, that was sweet though, right?
And I have one more from a customer recently who said, "Good afternoon. I want to say thank you for the great service and response from Tracy, Steve, and everyone else at the department. You folks are so good to the district and always there when we need you. We appreciate you all. Have a great afternoon."
That's why we need to do a picture.
You're right. I just haven't figured out how to do it yet, but we'll work on it. A nice sunny day, like you
Yeah.
say. So before we go into executive, that's all I have other than figuring out our next meeting first. And I was hoping we could skip one before town meeting, but it seems like we need to confirm our plans for the town meeting flyer, as well as talk over the mid-May business meeting with the businesses. So, I'm thinking we have to meet on the 29th. Any other comments? I really wanted to skip this one, but there'll be too much prep for the mid-May meeting. So without hearing from anybody saying nay, I'm saying 9 o'clock on April 29th.
Okay.
And I'm gonna really do my best to keep that one short, because we did a lot in the last 2 meetings, which is great. Also, if we're lucky, Jason, maybe you'll have that hydraulic model in contract form by that one. But other than that, I'm gonna keep it really just to the topics of the meetings that we have to set up.
And if we don't, we can take him to court?
Well, but he might waive the fee. Don't take me to court with the way the country is right now.
Oh, that's true. No, we'll just put you on a plane somewhere, Noreen.
I'll wait for Alan. All right. I really wanted to skip that one, but that's okay. There'll be others.
It doesn't have to be a long meeting.
No, and we're really just be talking about the business meeting with Cindy Williams and town meeting and out of here. All right, I'm gonna wait for Alan, but I will take, let's see, I would take a motion to move into executive session.
So moved.
I'll second.
And this should be fairly quick. All in favor?
Aye.
4-0.